Superpower Dare Die Team. Hello, that's me giving myself an intro cue. It's completely pointless. This is the Happy Salad podcast, which we're doing without Dan because Dan felt it necessary to have a birthday. I mean, why would you do that? Honestly, joining me in the studio, I've got Zachary Burgess.
Yes.
And remotely over the interwires, we've got Kippers. Brr. Brr. A suspenseful burr. What's happening, chicken? That's you. You went burr. You're the chicken.
Oh, that's me.
Yeah. you're therefore you've given yourself a nickname for this episode.
Other than the other nickname that you just used.
Kippers, yeah. DJKippling. At DJKippling on Twitch. Twitch fame.
I haven't streamed for about 3 months, but yeah.
You right? What's happening?
Oh, yeah, not bad.
Had a good week. Good couple of weeks. Good E3. Okay, let's get right into it. What was your E3? What was it?
What was my E3?
Yeah, what was your E3?
It was a show about games.
Not an excuse to just eat a lot of pizza and watch games. I mean, we do.
There was pizza involved.
Good.
Yeah, definitely pizza involved. And beer.
Appropriate.
But yeah, it was alright, wasn't it? I enjoyed it.
Got a highlight?
I thought Xbox was good.
Yeah, I mean, their show is normally pretty decent these days. It's hard to get away from just the non-stop onslaught of games.
Yeah,
to the point
that's
where
the thing these days. There's just so many games now. It's impossible not to have something you want to play, isn't it?
I mean, we spent all these years, like even here on this very podcast, saying, hey, we quite like them to just not do so many of the talky bits. But now it seems like the internet has turned, and it's like, you need more talky bits.
I don't know, I still actually saw someone complaining that it was too boring, and I was like, how can you follow? Did you watch these presentations? They literally don't talk at all any longer.
It's just wham, bam, bam. But I guess the problem is that, and you end up, I feel like I'm more indifferent to more of the games, and I don't know if that's just because there's volume.
Like they're showing just more random crap rather than just pure big hitters.
Yeah. And spending less time on each one as a result. And you just don't, I don't know, I don't necessarily feel like I get the reason to care about most games.
I think as well, like, it's nice that you get to see a lot more different games, right? You're seeing a lot more smaller games, a lot more games from lesser known developers and stuff like that. But at the same time, what I miss about the old style shows was you actually got like people playing the game live. You know, you could see people playing it. You could get an idea of what it's actually like to play the game. Whereas now it's just all CGI cutscenes and, you know, trailers and stuff that don't actually show you pretty much anything of the game. And it's like, well, what actually is this?
I mean, there's a lot of that. Yeah, I
feel like I know less about the games now than I did in the old style shows.
Maybe. I think, yeah. I mean, a lot of these, the announcements on these shows are supposed to be where just announcing that this thing exists. It's becoming less and less the place where you get updates about things that are on your radar. But
I just feel like it's kind of got to the point where you don't even know what these games are anymore.
I know. Well, what was the one we were talking about last episode where there was the Euro dance? Like it looked just like a bit like an FPS, but it had some weird Eastern European like rave music playing over it. I think that was in the Xbox presentation.
Yeah.
But it's just like, you look like a standard FPS game, but what's all this Euro dance? What's all this going on? It's like someone took a Japanese Initial D soundtrack and wrapped it over it, you know, that kind of thing. Like, what's your twist? I still don't know.
I don't think there is a twist.
Yeah.
Judging by that trailer, it looks like the twist is like some kind of telekinesis / magical powers, and that's about it. And maybe the music is completely irrelevant and they just thought it was cool.
See, that'd be a massive letdown if that was true. Maybe that's just me. Maybe this is just like us getting a little older and me being a little bit more cynical about the industry in general. And then me just going like, hey guys, there's no more original ideas anymore.
There's
been
probably
like
a bit of
that for
but
a lot of years.
Yeah. And then Splatoon came along and changed all that. And then
No, it didn't. It's just an FPS. Oh, third-person shooter, I guess.
But the goop. Anyway, no, you're right. It's very rare that I come across something and I go, "Oh, that's good. That's really cool." Like even good games, like where I come away thinking, "Yeah, that was a good game," but it didn't. I'm very rarely wowed now,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and I find it hard to get excited about stuff in general.
Well, I mean, like 50% of everything that's happening at the moment are just remakes. So
Yeah.
You don't even get anything new that way either.
I mean, it's games doing films, I suppose,
Yes.
but without there being
It's either-
film games.
It's either that you get games that are very similar to games that have already been done, or you get games that try and do a combination of things that just don't work.
Sure, I suppose Disintegration's the one that comes to mind, right? The last one to try an RTS shooter.
Yeah, that was a weird one.
You play that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't play it, no.
Oh no.
It's dead now, isn't it, already?
Yeah.
Like they killed the servers already?
Yeah, you can't do multiplayer, and the studio shut down as well, so didn't go well for V1.
Speaking of, I guess not really news, but a vaguely related topic, I've been noticing that on my Steam feed, there's been yet more patches for Planetary Annihilation. Like that community team that took over development is still working on it quite a lot, apparently.
Huh.
I feel like I actually need to reinstall that at this point and actually like play it again to see if it's much better now.
Has the community saved it from itself?
Yeah. I think maybe I'll wait one more patch because supposedly the next patch might actually update the AI, which is like the bit that's important to me because obviously
Yeah.
I'm not going to play that in actual multiplayer.
That's interesting. I mean, that's one of those games that always had. We've talked about this a billion times, but yeah, a game that had potential, but
Well,
Sumo kind of messed it up.
I mean, it's the problem we were just talking about, where like they tried
not
to
Sumo, Uber. Sorry,
Yeah,
I
Uber.
always get that messed up.
they tried to make a new version of an old game, but didn't do it well enough. Just like every other game that's tried to do that, like City Skylines and well, I mean they did fine, but I'm not saying City Skylines is bad. I'm saying it's never going to be as good as a SimCity could have been, except they fucked up SimCity as well. So
Yeah. It's a bit harsh, but I guess you could throw 2 Point in there
Yeah.
as being not quite Theme Hospital.
yeah, and
As good as it
all the
was.
different attempts of people have been trying to remake Dungeon Keeper, essentially.
Have there
And
been
the
many?
new Startopia.
Yeah, the new Startopia.
Oh yeah,
It's just
that's still early access though, right?
No, that's out, isn't
No,
it?
I think that did come out. Yeah.
Oh man,
And it was apparently quite meh. I could tell by the way that a lot of people on my YouTube front page started playing it, and then like in under a week there were no more videos. That's how you can tell how meh that was.
I mean, I guess that's the problem. Yeah, those things do their job, and you'll be like, oh yes, I remember this. Moving on. It's kind of the problem
thing about that is, though, they don't even make it as good as the old one.
No.
That's the weird thing. Like, it's not hard to just recreate like the old one if you really wanted to, right?
Well, you would think,
but then they
then-
still somehow make it worse.
I don't know. That's the thing, isn't it? There's a special sauce to game making that, like, just taking the individual elements and mashing them together and making the same thing doesn't always work, right? It's there's something missing. I mean, Arona was missing, so there's that.
Well, yes, the voice acting is never going to be like, but I mean, they fucked it up by changing the tone. I mean, they could have still had bad voice acting with the same tone, but they decided to change the tone, and it just made it unnecessarily cheesy.
Yeah, I mean, that was my problem with Gears 4, right? Because they did the shift between like the old guard characters and moved to the younger generation, they younger generationed a lot of the dialogue
Yep.
and a lot of the attitude, and it didn't sit quite. And at least in Gears 5, they started rolling that back a little.
It's kind of the same thing that happened in Halo, like Halo 5.
I guess.
Where they just
yeah.
like, we've got this other team who are going to have like the ability to talk, unlike last team.
Yeah.
And oh no, they talked.
And they talked about the same boss fight you did 4 or 5 times.
Yep.
Oh dear. Yeah, I don't know. I was a bit. We talked about it before, but the more I've thought about it, the more I'm a bit worried about Halo Infinite and the fact that they only showed vagaries around
I think it looks
multiplayer
great.
this time.
I think it looks awesome.
I don't know. I want to see more single player actual gameplay. That's the thing. It's like that's what I'm in it for, the single player primarily, and it's all the co-op.
Multiplayer's where it's at.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I loved Halo 5's multiplayer. I thought it was really, really, really good, and especially that what they tried to do with those sort of that VR Counter-Strike-y style game mode. Whatever that was called.
That was the one everyone hated the most, I think.
Oh, really? Oh, I loved it. I thought it was really clever, and worked really well with their new mechanics.
I think the reason people didn't like it was because it was very far removed from what Halo is normally about.
Sure, it's not.
You don't come back and all that sort of stuff.
Exactly, it's not very non-stop. It made it more of a thinker game, which I suppose it's like, hey, that niche is filled, right? You don't need another one.
I think it was fine though. It was a nice addition.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
But yeah, I think it looks great. The multiplayer looks insane anyway. I think it looks awesome.
Maybe they'll find a way of fixing the big team stuff.
Oh, I never really liked big team.
Yeah.
I always found that annoying.
Because they had that whole like big weapony sort of assault.
Oh, what was that called?
With the weird card system and all that, but they tried to make a sort of more objective-y or more almost MOBA-y style big team battle thing, and it's like I still think that has potential, but I don't know. Maybe the Crucible happened, right, and disappeared within a week, and it's like that's basically the same idea.
Hmm.
They should just put Future Cop in it.
Future Cop is the best.
Action MOBA, the first MOBA. Fight me for it. I don't know if anyone actually knows if there's an earlier MOBA than Future Cop.
If you can even say that that's what it is.
It kind of is. It's got creep.
There's only one player per team, though.
Yeah.
That might be part of
and
the
it wasn't
definition.
Online.
Well, I mean, that may not be necessary.
I mean, that's the O part.
That is technically the O part, but you have to assume that if it's competitive in some way, that counts.
It's an umba. Tell you what, here we go. Let's change course a little bit.
Right.
Things I've discovered about this house in the last 2 weeks.
We go back to random.
Yeah.
After we accidentally went into game news, kind of.
Well, it wasn't game news. It was kind of just, a recap. Previously on. This place is basically where Daddy Longlegs come to die. It's like there's been so many of them in the last week.
I think that's just this year. Like, I've noticed it as well. Like, I had 4 or 5 days in a row where every night there was just another one in my room somehow. I was just like, where the hell is it? I wasn't, they don't even... Because I have my bug nets on the windows, they're coming through the entire house to get to my bedroom when the very rare times I open my door, and then they still sneak in, and I'm like, what the fuck? I think that's just this year. I think we're having a bug year.
Maybe. I mean, it's this windowsill in particular in this room. It's just like I cleared 3 of them off today, and it's like, and I did that a couple of days ago as well. And it's just like, why? Why did you come in here? Just like I leave the windows open in here most of the time. It's like you can escape.
They're dumb.
Like it's, my office is apparently how they describe Aldborough. Like Aldborough is where people go to die.
Okay.
They get old and die in a nice environment, and but I'm not quite sure what is so appealing to Daddy Longlegs about that windowsill, or maybe the white paint is somehow burning their legs off so they can't escape. I don't know, but that's all right. Gnome's decided to paint the summer house like a bumblebee, so...
Okay, I hope you don't get bees somehow.
I think it's sort of the intention.
What, you want bees?
We want bees.
Well, yeah, but you don't want a nest of bees.
Oh, no, probably not.
You want bees to exist.
Not a hive, yeah. I want to encourage the bees. I'm not Nicolas Cage. So that's... Yeah, I think even she looked at it this morning and was just like, that choice of yellow might have been a mistake.
Overdone it.
Yeah. A little bit. How was your, I don't know, you got any house grouse, Kippers? What's happening in the Switch?
Nothing really. We've got no spider. Well, we've got a couple of spiders, but we've got no like daddy long legs or anything like that.
You don't get
that I've
daddy
seen.
long legs.
Oh, we get shit tons of bloody seagulls pooping on our house. But
Really?
every day I look out and there's like crap all over our windows or something.
What? Yeah, but why? We just get angry blackbird.
Yeah,
Angry blackbird's still hanging out. But
I don't know why, but there's loads of seagulls around here. Randomly.
are they attracted to your very white car?
Well, then you won't be able to see the
It's
poop.
hidden.
maybe that's the game. They're just trying to angle some poop in there.
Maybe. Yeah, that's kind of annoying. The seagulls are annoying, but other than that, it's not too bad.
No angry blackbirds.
No angry blackbirds, no.
You're doing all right. Angry blackbird's getting quite annoying now. Just sits outside in the back garden somewhere going, cheep, 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 cheep.
We don't really have anything around it. We have a few different like small birds like goldfinch and stuff, but nothing much really.
We thought he'd gone, but he returned. Something has brought blackbirds back. Outrage. No more leaks. We're leak free at the moment as well, so that's good.
Really?
Leak free. All the smart home stuff is starting to slowly break, but that's all right.
Great.
I don't know, like smart things I think have broken all the presence sensor stuff. So like using your mobile to have it determine when you're home or not. That seems to no longer work properly. And it's like, it stopped working on Gnome's phone ages ago, but now it's stopped working on mine. So none of the fancy stuff works anymore. And it's like, oh, that's quite irritating. You mean I've got to manually turn my security system on? Oh.
Can you not just like make a one button thing for your phone or something where you just go boop and it just does it? Just like a toggle.
I probably could make a widget that would do that, yeah. Probably could organize. I mean, it's not that many button presses once you get into the app. But the problem is like all modern apps on phones take a little while to load, right? They don't just they're all such bloated pieces of crap now that like even on like ridiculous phones, you boot them up and they sit there on a title screen for a little bit and just go, yeah, I'm loading this button. Enjoy it. You enjoying this logo? And at which point you get a bit bored and go do something else. And don't actually do the thing you were doing.
It's like Hue ruined their app now as well. God damn it.
I'm not quite sure why they felt the need to update the Philips Hue app.
No, because it made it 10 times worse.
Well, I don't think it's terrible, but there are some.
Well, we've had a lot of issues with it. Like, for example, if you have multiple lights in a room and you want to adjust the brightness of just one light, it seems to not work and just adjust all of them.
Oh, really? Oh, no, I've not had that one.
It's kind of annoying.
You just tap the individual light and
we do
drag
that,
the brightness.
And then they all adjust anyway.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, this is very annoying.
That sounds busted. They added a few more color recipes.
Right.
Right. But it generally seems to run a little bit slower, and the
widgets are slower and all that stuff as well.
The new skin they put on the buttons and things don't seem to be. It's not as nice. Weirdly more retro feeling, rather than forward feeling. Forward feeling, is that a thing?
That sounds like some weird bullshit corporate term that could exist, yes.
We need to introduce a new forward feeling app. Grand. I got into a new show because I never talked about the end of Evangelion in the end, which was weeks ago now, like when I ended up watching that. It sucks, by the way. Like it's a really bad ending. Like I hate it. Like there aren't many shows where I like. Okay, you can have a disappointing ending to a TV show, right? Evangelion's just sucks. Like it's the bit where it goes like all as it's supposed to, all mad existential and weird. And,
yeah.
But it's and I get what it's trying to do, and I get why it's important to the anime scene and all that stuff. I understand all of that. I just think it's really badly done and like appalling to follow, and just doesn't really make any sense. Like there's two endings, which doesn't help. So there's the original series version where it just sort of at one point just seems to stop and then goes off into spoiler alert, I suppose. Humanity's now all one amorphous blob, and like everyone's minds and souls are all together, but for some reason Shinji is important still, which I don't quite understand why. But that just sort of happens, like somewhere between episodes 24 and 25, that just starts and becomes a thing, and they don't really show that, and it's just like, all right, what's going on now? Why are we having this? Okay, that's weird. And then at the end of it, it's just sort of like he makes some vague decision, and then suddenly everyone's there clapping him, and it's like, and then it ends, and it's just like, what the hell just happened? That's how it ends. And then there's there's a movie ending as well, where they turn those last two episodes into a full-flown movie and change how the ending works and change how it all functions, which for the most part is pretty damn cool, because it's like big fights and nastiness and deaths and bad stuff. And then the mad stuff at the end all happens again, and it makes no bloody sense. And it just makes no sense.
I mean, it's the same comparison we always make because it's what we know, but that is basically the exact same as Raz F1, of course, because that's what they're riffing off. But
I know, but I found that, there's a way in how it's done, right? Like Evangelion just sort of like backloads all of that, right? So it's right at the end, and so it's all a bit sudden and all a bit, what's going on? I don't understand. Raz F1 is dense, but I feel like it spreads out its weirdness in a more...
I mean, the actual everything going to shit weirdness is only like the last two episodes, really. And there's not that much indication that it's going to go as badly as it does until those last two episodes.
Sure. I think I found it more followable, I guess, a more enjoyable ride.
Well, it doesn't...
There comes a point in Evangelion where you're just like I have no idea. Why is there multiple cross things coming out of this eyeball?
Yeah, I mean, that goes a bit more like, you know, visual symbolism weirdness, rather than Raz F1, where it's a bit more just like, here's a scene that's clearly happening in this guy's mind, and here's what's actually going on outside. Yeah. It's like, it's a bit more obvious.
Here's a bit where the end of Evangelion shows an audience watching I think was the end of this anime series, and them sort of being all boo. It's really weird. Like, just like, where does this live action footage fit in anyway? It doesn't. At least it didn't end in another 3-minute segment of two characters just looking at each other while cicadas play in the background.
I don't know, that might have improved it.
Maybe, yeah. Such a weird thing. In the meantime, I have since watched The Way of the House Husband.
Okay.
Which is hilarious. I highly recommend you check that out on Netflix. Like, it's 5 really short episodes, and it's basically a tiny little comic book. It's barely an anime. Like, it's more of a motion comic. I guess the equivalent of a visual novel, I suppose, on screen. But it's it's about, it's a little bit, it reminds me, there's a lot of Yakuza in this, right? So he's an ex-Yakuza, like, big player, I suppose, a bit like Kiryu. And but he's basically settled down because he doesn't make enough money, but his wife does, so he's become a house husband and takes everything far too seriously. And it's actually pretty goddamn funny. Highly recommend. Very short. Get it done. Get it done. And then also BNA is my new favourite thing. It's about animal people that turn into animals, and then they have fights and stuff.
Japanese animals.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And it's actually really good. Recommend. Catchy theme tune.
Well, I mean, that's not difficult.
No, that's just anime standard.
Yeah.
It's nice lunchtime viewing. It's pretty funny. Also, I mean, there's bears that play baseball, you know.
Do they make is it meant to be a deliberate, obvious reference to, you know, the actual baseball team?
The Bears, and that they suck.
Well, or any direct reference to the fact that they're just that team.
I'm not 100% sure. No, I don't think they are. I think they're just supposed to be like lazy bears. That's the. But that's got my interest right now. It's only one season of that, and it's a Netflix original, so who knows if they'll make more of it. Netflix seem kind of bad at like picking up a show and then only giving us the start of it. Like I'm still waiting for season 3 of Food Wars, damn it, and it's like that show is over, but Netflix haven't got all the seasons. Bah. No new anime? No, still not watching anything. You don't really dip into that side, do you, Kips?
No, I'm not really into that sort of stuff.
What?
I don't really watch TV in general, though. I don't really watch any shows.
Do we need to do the standard British thing and be all like footy, 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 tennis, tennis, footy?
I haven't even been watching the football.
I mean, England were pretty good.
Yeah, I know.
Last 2 games.
Now I feel like I need to watch it, and then they'll probably fail. But, you know.
They were awful during qualifiers. I thought they were... I mean, there was typical England, right? Full back to defence, be all boring. This is me talking about football. I never watch football, like until it's an international. But it's like England are boring to watch, generally. And it's like... The qualifiers, they just looked so ropey, and there was that game against Scotland that was supposed to be a big deal and was just the worst. Like terrible, terrible football. And then you get England v Germany and England v Ukraine, and we walked Ukraine a little bit, but they were entertaining games. This is what I like to see. It's like they were a different team. It's like I was watching someone else. Not just because they were winning, like only like even the first half of England Germany where it was 0-0, it was just like they looked like a completely different side. And given who's left, was it Italy, Denmark, and Spain?
Yeah.
Is it coming home?
No. Italy and Spain are clearly going to be better than us because they always are.
Italy nearly lost to.
Yeah, Italy nearly lost. Yes.
It's the Spaniards I'm worried about. I think they're the...
That wasn't Sweden, it was Austria, wasn't it?
The thing about... Cause, I mean, I haven't been watching this, again, I haven't been paying attention. Also, I probably haven't been paying attention for, like, the last 2 tournaments, probably. But, like, Italy especially, I don't know shit about how they work now, because, like, back in the sort of mid-2000s, all their old... players were aging out. So it's like, by this point, Italy might as well be a completely different team.
That is time.
It was just weird because Italy did seem to be a team that had like a lot of really old players who were clinging on, but they were still good for a long time.
I feel like that's the case with a lot of teams at the moment. Like they've all moved on to fresh people, most of them.
Isn't that what happens with like international teams in general? They always seem to hold on to the old boys generally.
Yeah.
Like way longer than perhaps they should. Like is Portuguese Ronaldo still good?
Yeah, he's still playing.
No, I knew he was still playing, but is he still good?
He scored a lot of goals, didn't he, already? Well, before they got knocked out.
I mean, I was vaguely surprised not to see them make the semis. It's Portugal, man. They're always good.
Yeah, they rely too much on Ronaldo.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
You can't trust someone with one name.
Unless you play for Brazil.
Still can't trust someone who plays with one name. I think that's even more of a lesson that you can't. Yeah, right. I've padded out this random section. News! Because there's not a lot of it. News! What's going on in news? Got any news?
No.
That's what I thought.
There was a Steam sale.
There is a Steam sale happening, yeah. The summer sale is on.
Pretty rubbish as usual.
I mean, it's just that it's less interesting since they stopped doing the whole daily deal thing, right? You check in once and be all like, yeah.
Well, there's that, and the deals just aren't as good as they used to be either.
See, I don't know. You might be right. They don't feel quite so dramatic. But maybe that was just because of the daily deal effect. Right? You look at it, and the daily deal comes up, and you think, ooh.
But it used to be like the Steam sale would be like the cheapest time to get games, right? But now sales happen every week or whatever, pretty much. And whenever a game comes on sale, it's the same price as what it is in the Steam sale. So it doesn't really matter when you get it anymore.
Yeah, I see what you mean. The big sale doesn't mean you're getting like the best bargain. It's just
Yeah.
the regular bargain at everything's on sale. at
Pretty
once.
much.
And also,
Yeah.
like, because in most cases, I'm sure it's set on the back end by the developers, but it's just like the percentage discount goes up over time, and it's not related to the sale. It's just whenever a sale comes up, maybe the percentage has got slightly better this time. So it's just like you're always just waiting to see if it's going to go slightly further.
Yeah.
I would say Team Sonic Racing might now be at the point where it's a tempting buy. Potentially. But then very little is a tempting buy since Game Pass came along.
Well, for you, yes.
Yeah, it's tricky because it's kind of broken me in that regard. I mean, it's great, don't get me wrong, but I don't feel like I have to really get... This is one of the reasons, I guess, I don't get hyped for stuff like as much as I used to, because it's just... Well, it's fine. I can wait. It'll turn up on Game Pass. Probably.
Well, part of it as well, it's just that games are just too expensive in general now.
Well, yeah.
For me. Like, if I want to buy a new game on, like, the new Battlefield on Xbox is like 70 quid or something.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not paying that.
Wow, is there not even a... Is that the standard
That's the regular version. Yeah.
Games are just going to be 70 quid now. That's what's happening.
Ugh.
I mean,
Wait, £70 though, because that's not... Like, I knew the $70 thing was coming in, and we were sort of hovering around 55 in general, weren't we, for new releases? Even on console?
It might be 65. I might be wrong, but it's 60. It's either 65 or 70. It's something crazy like that.
Ugh.
and I'm still not not on board with, like, you know, Nintendo games being 50 quid.
No.
Yeah.
There is
Nintendo games in general have very short, like, lifespan, don't they? Like
Some
the
of them,
golf
especially,
game has very little content, really.
The vast majority of them are skewed in the wrong direction. Like, we had a rant about Mario Party Superstars last at the E3 thing, because it's just like, is it
5 boards?
Yeah, you're recapping like a ton of old Mario Party games, and you decide to bring one Mario Party game's worth of content. It's
It doesn't make any sense.
How amazing could that thing have been? Had they just bundled not necessarily everything, but like a large segment of it together?
I feel like Nintendo just value their own stuff way too highly. Like, I feel like they think their stuff's worth a lot more than it actually is.
I guess it's I mean, they kind of can. They've got the monopoly on it, and their quality level is a lot higher than most developers in general.
But it's just in contrast to everything else. It's like paying for 5 old boards that have been around for 15 years at this point, if not longer.
Oh, way longer. Yeah,
15, 20 years, something like that.
I think one of the boards in that was, or a couple of them were at least from Mario Parties 1 and 2. Yep. So, like, we're talking 20 years at this point? Are we getting on for that? Okay, must be getting close to 20 years. 20 years of Mario Party, guys.
Don't tell Giantbot.
Yeah, I've never really... That's what's put me off buying a Switch, really. I've been thinking about it for a while, you know, every now and then. Like, should I get a Switch? Should I get an op? And then you just look at the games. It's just like, I'm not paying 50 quid every time I want to play a game, especially when they're like 2-year-old games and stuff. I mean,
you don't have to. Like, the second-hand market does exist for if you want the physical copies, and it's...
But they still hold their value, though. That's the stupid thing.
They do hold them reasonably well, yeah. Especially if you're going in for the first parties.
And that's why you want to Switch, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because there's not much else. Apart from indie games. Yeah. Up to them. But good luck finding anything on Nintendo Store either. Because their one ain't great either.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about that before the cast, weren't we? About PlayStation Store being somewhat unusable.
That's awful.
There's things about PlayStation Store that always confuse me. Like, so if you're trying to claim a PS Plus game, like, I don't know what the rules are. Like they make it sound like some games you have to download that month, while others you just say will be get and add to my library, and then it will just add to your PS Plus library, and you can pick it up whenever you want. And it's like, is that a thing? Is that actually how they work? But like, why? If that's not how they work, why would they make the buttons do that? And it's like, yeah, because it, in fairness, it mildly bothers me sometimes about the whole Xbox. Xbox does this as well, right? So like, but every option is the same. So if you add a game to your Games with Gold, for instance, it will just start downloading it immediately. And it's like, no, that's not what I meant. I just wanted to add it to the library. And there's no way to turn that off as far as I can tell. But yeah, on PlayStation, there is an add to library option half the time, but it's half the time. Why? Why is that? I don't understand. And some of the time, that just doesn't even bloody work. There's definitely been times where it's like I've clicked the add to library button and it's taken me to a page and it says, no, pay for this. And it's like, no, I'm not going to do that. That's not what your button said you were going to do. It's messy.
Yeah. It feels like in general, like Sony have kind of dropped the ball on the like software side of a lot of stuff on PlayStation. Like the PS5 UI is kind of weird in general.
Yeah, I've not got one, so I've not really used it all that much.
It's like it seems like they just changed it because they can, not because it's actually better.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about all those like live cards and things like that. That engine.
I mean, some of the ideas of that stuff's kind of interesting, but it's not helpful all the time, and it makes getting to stuff you actually want harder. Like they've even changed how you turn off the system and stuff, and like basic stuff like that. They've just made it worse. It's like, why have they done that?
I did hear about that one, the whole turn off thing, because it's, if anything, it's like the PS4 does that better than Xbox still. It's like, yeah, okay, Xbox only has the turn off option, doesn't it, when you hold down the button?
You can do all sorts. You can restart. You can whatever. But
well, there's three options that appear, isn't there, when you do the standard hold down the X button, and but like hold down that sort of sidebar menu that the PlayStation has. It's like, yeah, it's fairly dense, so it's not very nice looking, but there's a lot of very useful quick options there. To be like checking in on controllers, like and stuff like that. Like PS4's controller management is way better than Xbox. It's like Xbox is all like, oh, it's magic and automatic and stuff. It's like, no, I want to actually turn this. I want to assign this controller to this person and get all that sorted out. And it's like there's some dark art to that. Whereas
I've never had an issue with that though, with it assigning to people and stuff. But
it's just piss easy to like change it all on PS4. It's like they make that process quite simple. Or to just check in on your controller, or to just manually turn that controller off, like without having to take. I suppose you do it on Xbox by taking a battery out, right? But because you can. But yeah, little things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems like they're just dropping the ball with the software side lately, and not really sorting it out quick enough.
Although you could argue PS5 has had more PS5 games that are, exclusive PS5
Well, it has,
games.
yeah, but
I think they're games.
Some would argue they're not exactly the best games either, though.
Well, if you want to talk software, I think Sony are on top of their game at the moment. I do think the stuff they've been putting out for a while now has been properly decent. Like, when the next God of War comes out, I'm there. That last one was fantastic.
Yeah, but then they got the fact that they were lying about all these games and saying they're PS5 only when they're not. They're coming out on PS4 as well and stuff like that.
I mean, I think
they're doing a lot of lying.
I think it's a studio-driven decision, some of that, but it's because God of War 2, you're right, is coming out on PS4 as well as 5. So
well, they all are now, aren't they? All their games they've announced to PS4 now.
Oh, really?
Gran Turismo is. Horizon, the new Horizon is.
I didn't know about GT. That's interesting.
Yeah, they basically lied about them all, saying they're not coming out on PS4, and then now they all are.
I guess they wanted PS5 to sell, but now they've got the problem that they can't sell because there aren't too many of them.
That's what I think. Yeah, that they're like backtracking because they can't physically sell enough PS5s.
Maybe Microsoft knew something. Oh. No, we shouldn't sound too fanboyish, but you're right. It's a bit odd to sort of double back on that a little bit. I mean, it's better in a way, but the games aren't going to necessarily take advantage of new tech, and that's what everyone.
No, that's what people are
wants.
Annoyed about. Yeah, there's that side of it, and it's also like why even say that in the first place? Because they don't just make these decisions within like a few weeks of saying that they're now going to be on PS4 as well, do they? They know about it because they have to develop it with that in mind. So why didn't they just say it at the start? Yeah,
true. I mean, it's so late in the day for those games that it's like, can this run on a PS4? Yeah, it can. Isn't really a conversation that just happens.
It almost seems like they didn't do it on purpose to get people to buy into the next gen stuff.
Yeah, and then when it all bottomed out. by the way.
It kind of backfired a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's not their fault. It's the Suez Canal's fault, in part. And not Boaty McBoatface. I forgot what it was even called. It was one of the Evergreens, wasn't it? Like, Ever something.
Yes.
Ever Stuck.
But I don't think that was even the main problem. There's just a whole bunch of other shipping issues going on at the moment.
Yeah, there's a whole load of silicon shortage going on, which has even affected, my company and things like that I work for. It's like we're finding it harder and harder to get hold of certain components for things. So it's not just the big boys.
I don't think that's ever going to change, though, because of just how much demand there is for stuff now.
Maybe
as well. It's not just a shortage; it's just that everyone wants it.
Yeah, there's not enough manufacturing plants to keep up, and all of that. There's a whole load of stuff, and politics. Let's not go down that road.
No doubt.
Let's not do that. China don't care. Other news, actual Sony news. Let's do that. Let's get that done, so we can talk about all the demos Zach's been playing.
Yep.
Sony has not closed. This is old news, by the way. We missed this because we reported ages ago that Sony were shutting down the PlayStation 3 and PS Vita stores, and I believe the PSP store had closed a long, long time ago. But they are, for some reason, reverting that and being like, hey, the PlayStation 3 store is still alive. The PlayStation Vita store is still alive. And you can buy PSP games for your PSP via the PS3 store. And that will somehow still work. I don't even know how that transfer functions. Like, if the PSP can't get to the PSP store, how does it get hold of the games to put on your PSP?
Well, I guess it's because you can't, but you can play PSP games on your Vita.
Oh, I see.
I guess
that makes sense. Yeah. I didn't realise the Vita was actually back compat like that.
Yeah, you can play PSP games on it, from what I remember.
So Patapon lives. Yes, I am calling that game out. That game was good. So yeah, that's the thing. And studio purchases, I guess in response to Microsoft buying up the studios they usually work with, Sony are buying up the studios they usually work with. So Housemarque, long-time, pretty much PlayStation exclusive developer, recently put out Returnal. Most famous, I suppose, for Super Stardust, back in the PS3 days. But they also made that rad platformer, Outlast. No, it's not Outlast. Is it Outcast or something? Outlander. There we go. Got there. Outland. Now I've got there. Outland. The red-blue sort of Icariga platformer thing that was really cool. That's them. They're a cool developer. They're now owned by Sony, as are Bluepoint, who seem to be the best remake company on the planet right now. Having done, they did Shadows of the Colossus. They recently put out that Demon's Souls remake. I think they did announce what they're working on next, and I can't remember what that is.
I don't think it's official, but there's rumours they're doing Metal Gear as well, isn't there?
Yes, I did hear that. Like the first Metal Gear remade would be something.
I imagine it would more likely be Metal Gear Solid, but...
Oh, sorry, that's what I meant. Yeah, not like the MSX Metal Gear.
Yeah.
But that would be something.
That would be something, yeah. Can you imagine?
I mean, there is that game that's currently coming out that's just a spoof of MSX Metal Gear. It's the same, weird graphical pixel art style, but it like plays it for laughs. It's got stupid dumb jokes about how ridiculous it is to hide in a box and whatnot. But yeah, someone is making that.
Didn't they make a joke about that in the new Death Stranding trailer as well?
Death Stranding director's cut. He just randomly jumps in a box. I can't even remember. A bit of me thinks that scene might have been in the game, something like the original somewhere, and they were just like, we're using this scene to show off the new PS5 renderer. I can't really remember.
I don't remember that bit. But
that's a problem that I have with Death Stranding. Can't really remember it all that well.
There isn't really anything to remember, is there? It's just walk around, deliver some stuff.
And then Heartman passes out.
Yeah.
And also the name Die Hard Man. And they can't figure out how to. They basically can't remember how to say anyone's names, right? That's the funniest thing about that whole game. Like, some people call him Hartman, some people call him Heartman, Die Hardman, Fragile, and Fragile, and all the different pronunciations of that, often said by the same character
herself a lot of the time.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's hilarious. I think the only one that's fairly standard is Sam Porter Bridges. Sam Porter Bridges. Which is in itself actually quite fun to say. Sam Porter Bridges.
That game is weird.
That game is properly weird.
Why does it go back to World War II and stuff as well? That was bizarre. Because of that character that was...
Because he was a soldier. But yeah, the timeline for that doesn't even work out anyway.
It doesn't.
Because he was a soldier and...
But not in World War II.
But not in World War II. So his spirit self was kind of taken back there, or he thought he just wanted to be in that sort of fight the whole time, or he used that in order to get your attention so he could find BB. I don't know. That was the kind of the side of the game that from the trailers I was interested in.
Yeah, and then it was just a bit of a side thing that was kind of random, really.
Yeah, it didn't really fit in. Although, hell, Mads Mikkelsen. If you need any excuse to get Mads Mikkelsen in your game, take it. He's badass. That's all I got for news, really. It's nothing happening.
No.
EA still haven't done their thing.
No,
that's in July, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we're in July now, but it's still... I think it's end of July.
Yeah, it's 20-something.
Yeah. Quite some delay. And Sony still haven't done a thing.
No.
Not even a state of play, just weirdly mistimed.
Well, the Horizon one was beforehand, and that was the closest.
That's the closest thing, but I don't necessarily consider a one-game dive getting involved in the spirit of things.
No.
I think they said there was going to be one in July, right? But I think they delayed it to August or something now. Maybe. I can't remember exactly, but they had something planned.
No, I didn't hear any of that, but I guess they've got the flexibility, given that they're not officially part of E3 or Summer Games Fest or any of those things. They can just do what the hell they want when they want. I don't know if I should be interested in Metroid Dread or not. I keep thinking about it because it's I like me some Metroid.
Yeah,
but,
why not?
Yeah.
My problem is that I'm kind of now do I need to go and play Fusion? Because that is the one I have played, and it's canonically timeline. This is the next game after that.
Yeah, I didn't finish Fusion. I got some way through it, and never. Well, partly because of the form factor.
Yeah.
Why play it on a GBA when I could have played it on some other device? Which I guess we could have once you turned up with your Game Boy Player for GameCube.
Technically, yes.
I don't know, though. I'm kind of a bit off with 2D Metroid after playing Samus Returns.
Oh, did you play that? What, the
remake? Yeah, I don't know, I just felt a bit off. I wasn't overly... I much preferred Super Metroid.
Yeah, Super Metroid's a classic, but...
I feel like that might have been a problem of the 3DS control scheme as well, really, because...
Oh yeah, the controls were not the easiest thing to...
Anytime you have to use the shoulder buttons on the 3DS,
yeah,
it's just not going to go well.
I mean...
But it had stupid things, really annoying boss fights, and... I mean, it always has boss fights, but I mean, the boss fights they did have were just really annoying and not fun.
I mean, they were quite irritating in Super Metroid.
Yeah. I mean, they're all right in Super Metroid, though. It's just shoot some stuff and avoid bullets or whatever. But
not always. Some of them had a bit of a trick, didn't they?
I don't. Or shoot him in the mouth for one of them was a trick, wasn't it? But it's still just shoot him.
Yeah, to a point. It's all shoot him with a certain weapon.
Shoot him, and but yeah, in Samus Returns, you had that annoying boss where you had to roll up in a ball and jump on him and attach to him and then bomb certain sections when they lined up and all this kind of stuff. It was just very, very irritating because it was just luck whether they lined up half the time and stuff like that. It's bad boss, awful boss. And that kind of soured me on the whole thing, really.
Boss design is hard, though, right? I think those are the moments that in a lot of modern games where I think like, ugh, this was. I know that's supposed to be a challenging moment, but most of the time they're challenging in a bad way. Like just
that's what this was. It wasn't challenging because it was hard. It was challenging because it was just annoying having to get it to go exactly how you wanted it to, with like lining stuff up, and
that does sound fairly annoying.
Yeah, and the timing of it was so like thin between getting it lined up and placing the bomb so it exploded at the right time. It was just annoying.
In fairness, most stuff involving the ball bombs kind of annoying in Metroid, especially the ones where you have to jump.
Yeah,
I think they made that less annoying in Prime somehow.
Well, you don't really have to do it in Samus Returns, I don't think. The ball bomb jumping,
or the ball bomb double jump thing. That was always the worst. But yeah, I don't know if I should be. I mean, I hope it's good.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
I'm sure
it'll be fine. Yeah,
I'm sure it'll be 60 quid.
Yeah, that is the problem.
Which is like slightly galling in the face of Metroid Prime 4 is supposed to be coming at some point, and I'm like, that's the proper Metroid I'm waiting for. That's a proper Metroid. It's not. It's the offshoot Metroid.
Yeah.
But it's the one I'm really interested in. Where are you at? Where are you at?
And we still have to get Zelda. If you're going to allot your monetary value towards Nintendo products in the future, Zelda's coming first, I guess, at this point.
I mean,
that's not coming for another year, is it?
Yeah. No. And also, little slightly concerned, that it's sort of too much of a rehash of what they had before. There's those worries.
Well, yeah, but we don't really know anything.
We don't know anything. Yeah, that's...
we still know more than Metroid Prime 4, though.
This is true. Hell, we know more about Splatoon 3 than we know about Metroid Prime 4.
Yep.
And if ever there was I know we were just talking about, like, Nintendo tax. If ever there's a game that's just take my money, though, it's Splatoon and Smash Brothers. It's just...
Well, but you definitely get better value out of Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
I don't know if we get decent, but the amount I play Splatoon, I get my money's worth out of it.
Sure.
It's not a bad buy for me. I love that thing.
Yeah. It's when you compare it to their other stuff, like Mario Party. Like that was it Super Mario Party? That game was not good.
I mean, the mini games were all right, but that's the thing they always get right, isn't it? Like the mini games are fine, and then they somehow manage to balls the boards up in recent ones.
But it's like when you compare those two, and it's like they're the same price. It's like it's no contest, is it?
It's really difficult. It's really difficult to justify. But I guess they must sell, right? It's like that's the only reason we haven't had a Mario Kart 9 at this point. Like the same, in a weird way, the same basic principle. Excuse me. Well, something going on in my throat there for a second. There's the same basic thing applies, right? There is Mario Kart 8 is not a huge amount of content, and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe at least throws in all the DLC from the original Mario Kart 8 and a few more things. But it's not a...
That's a fair bit, right? It adds like another 16 tracks or something.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The DLC portion was not insignificant. It was even if you had Mario Kart 8 and then bought the DLC like I did, it's like it was a good value proposition back then. But there's still something about it, right? It's still just... I don't know. There's something about Mario Kart, especially even now, where it just feels like this shouldn't still be a £60 game. It's hard. It's hard.
Well, I mean, that game itself is like nearly 8 years old, is it? Probably.
God, how old is it? It is properly ancient now. I wonder if this is the biggest gap in Mario Karts.
It must be.
It might be.
Because there was I guess the gap between the N64 and GameCube was reasonable.
But didn't they release a DS one in between, or 3DS?
Oh, they might have done, yeah. Oh, or the GBA one as well might have been slotted in there somewhere. Super Circuit. Yeah, this might be the longest drought in Mario Kart for a long time, and unless you count Mario Kart like what was it, AR thing, or Mario Kart
right,
Tour on mobile.
Yeah,
which I'm not sure I do.
No.
Even though it seems like Mario Kart Tour gets a ton of updates.
For more things for you to spend real money on.
Yeah. Anyway, that's news.
There's a couple of extra news bits that I've found out about this week. Nothing interesting, but some new game announcements and stuff. There's a fourth game apparently in development for the Dark Pictures series, that weird like horror series.
Have you played any of those?
I've not. I played the one they made on PS4 before they started that.
No, what was that called? The one with like what's her face from Heroes in it, Hayden Panettiere.
Yeah, that was quite good.
I've played a chunk of that. I never finished it.
I didn't finish it either, but
I was playing
quite good from what I did play.
It was good fun to play as a group. That one, because that's how we were doing it. There was a group of us in a room all making dumb decisions.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I enjoyed that. But yeah, I haven't played any of the new ones, but they look decent. Like the first one didn't look that great, but apparently the second one was pretty good. Like okay, not amazing, but okay.
I think that's the problem all of these have had, these Dark Pictures, that they're a little bit run of the mill in terms of their actual story content.
Mm.
But then I suppose you could argue that about whatever that first one was. It was just bigger. Like it's a by the numbers slasher, but well made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're good at what they do, but they're not amazing.
Yeah.
They found their niche, I think.
Yeah, probably. And they stuck to their plan is the most interesting thing, right? Like they came out all like, oh, we're going to do this anthology. We're going to make all these games, and they're going to be smaller, and they're going to be in a sort of collection at the end of it. And it's like there's always
they said there was going to be 3, but apparently, now they're doing more. But...
Well, there's always a certain element when someone announces that, like over a little bit. Well, we're going to make this sort of episodic thing, but it's not really episodic. They're all sort of separate, and there's a sort of like, let's see how that first game does, and then and then maybe you'll revert that idea.
Hmm.
But no, fair play at sticking to it.
Yes, apparently they're making a 4th one called The Devil in Me. I can't even remember what the 3rd one's called. So.
No, I can't remember what any of them are called except for the first one.
Yeah,
the first one was Man of Medan, right?
Yes,
because I played that demo. But
yes,
and I remember that. But yeah, no, not really on my radar. That stuff.
No. Another game that got announced. There's a quite big YouTuber who does marble run videos. I don't know if any of you are familiar with those.
I mean,
he does like Marble Olympics and stuff like that, which is pretty funny.
Can't escape it. It's always there on YouTube somewhere.
Yeah. So apparently
I've never seen. I mean, I saw like a company do like an ad based off that sort of stuff. I think like it was like a.
Oh, he did ads for someone. Yeah, I remember that.
They were doing like marble races or something.
But yeah, he helped with those ads, and yeah, he's got a massive YouTube where he does Marble Olympics and stuff like that. But yeah, apparently he's working on a game with I don't know who, but called Marble League, the game. Surprisingly enough.
All right.
So that'll be.
What's his contribution? Is he like the physics programmer? Like he knows so well how Marvel physics works. He's going to convert it into a video game.
He's probably the track designer.
Oh yeah, that too, I guess.
Yeah, probably a bit of that, and also just the general
idea
setup of how he does these Olympics and whatever. Yeah.
How do you make a game of that system? Mostly passive experience. Is it salty bet? Like,
well, you could.
I don't know.
I mean, you could make it not passive. Just make it just like weird micro machines, except you're all marbles.
I guess, but that wouldn't really.
Do you remember that?
Because there's that marble game that's you can do with Twitch, right? Where
the
people from Twitch just put their
name on
say they want to be in it.
Yeah.
And then it just runs the marble race, and whoever wins or whatever.
Yeah, I could see it being like a version of that, I guess. Just it's not really a game as much as it's just like a social interface almost.
Yeah.
Imagine the ray tracing tech. Oh my god. If there's anything that
you could make one look really good, couldn't you?
If there's anything that could be made beautiful, it's light shining through a goddamn marble.
Classic.
It's like that Lego game that came out.
Yeah, I mean, we should probably talk about that. You see, like Lego Builder's Journey, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
I watched the Digital Foundry about that because that looks rad. Like, I don't know, the gameplay looks pretty simple, but it's like, man, what a great looking game. Like for nailing its aesthetic and just doubling down on it and then making something look, 100% getting it right. And then just because they could, layering on so much ray tracing tech. I I kind of want to play that. And actually, in fairness to it looks great without the ray tracing. But yeah, what a good looking thing. But although I don't know how that gameplay even works. It looks like you just seem to have to move footboards, and if the footboard's near enough to your character, he then jumps to it. And it's like how you attach that in the environment. So I'm not 100% sure how it even works, but it looks cool. Was that a shadow drop?
Yeah.
Like, did we know they were making that? Like, just sort of seemed to suddenly turn.
It was a
on.
mobile game, wasn't it? Before,
Oh, was it?
I think.
I don't know. First I've ever heard of it was
I don't know if it might have been part of Apple Arcade or something like that.
Maybe. Where games go to die, I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I don't know how that's going to work, but it might be kind of interesting.
Do you remember that, like, was it early 360 live arcade game where you were Marvel?
You mean any of the Marvel games? There's more than one, for sure, but yes.
There was one in particular that everyone had because it was like one of the early live arcade games.
Yeah, what's
like,
that called?
I can't remember.
It has some generic aspect.
See, I want to say Marvel Madness, but
Like
it's not.
3D Marvel World or something.
Yeah.
Along those lines.
It's clearly not Marvel Madness, but that's all I can. That's the only thing in my head. Like,
I'm surprised,
Marble Blast, maybe?
oh,
yeah,
Marble Blast
Blast,
Ultra.
yeah.
I think that might have been it. Yeah, or Ultra Marble Blast.
It felt like, I mean, I guess it's not the case any longer. Maybe that was the last time. But it felt like that was one of the like standard console launch games in the same way as you'd get like the racing game to see how the cars look. It's like you have to have the Marvel game to see how well people can render circles.
I mean, it wasn't all that technically impressive, that game, but it did have online and some kind of like marble battles and things like that. There was a reasonable amount to that thing. And I guess it all had to fit under 32 meg because of or whatever the old requirement was. Yeah, weird thing. Marble Blast. Yeah. I remember being one of those games that has a soundtrack that has far too many like stock samples in it that you're just like, oh, I recognize that. Oh, I recognize that. A little bit like was it Wave Race on the more I look back at it, Wave Race on the GameCube, that had the same problem. A lot of its music was just like standard ass, the most standard stock sample was like chucked together. Not a bad thing. I mean, I'm not going to badmouth things that do that because hey, the Bastion soundtrack is one of the best game soundtracks ever. But it's just like that's kind of garage band. That's just garage band sound effects. Well done, Darren.
Congrats.
No, I'm not knocking it. He did a good job, but still. Any more?
Well, there's the tiny news that came out sort of parallel to the last Smash Bros. Not last Smash Bros. Character chronologically. Kazuya, he happened. And then in the presentation, they, of course, did their pack of Mii fighters. But this was the time for the final round of all the characters you wanted getting deconfirmed before the last character. So if you were hoping to get Dante, Shantae, or Dragonborn, no. They're Mii's.
Oh, I got confused by who you meant when you said Dante and Shantae together. I was like, oh, right, yeah. No.
Two characters with coincidentally the same sounding name.
Yeah.
But no, you're not going to get them as real characters. I don't know if anyone was really hoping for Dragonborn, but might as well get that in there as well.
I mean, after Fighters came out, there was kind of a call for like, oh, maybe Goku should be in Smash.
No, yeah, but that's not an old argument that you can't have. If it's not an originally video game character, then you get. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it gets a much lower priority.
Yeah, he's an anime character. It's not a celebration of video games if you start pulling in anime.
The current theory seems to be that the last character is going to be a Japanese-oriented character, though.
Fire Emblem.
So we're not going to be... Probably not Fire Emblem.
I mean, I really hope not. That would be such a terrible... I mean, it's got to be something big, right?
It's got to be either big or obscure.
Yeah. Like,
really although, to be honest, even if it's big from Japan, it'll probably be obscure to us.
Maybe, yeah. Hatsune Miku.
No.
Rocket Knight. It's kind of a bit weird, isn't it? That'd be an interesting one.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what is actually going to happen with that.
Something from Battle Arena Toshinden.
I'm kind of hoping not another fighting game character also.
Yeah.
I just want a regular Smash character.
Klonoa.
Nah, that's too popular in the West to be the Japanese choice.
Crash Bandicoot. Yeah, not really Japanese. Kiryu. Oh my gosh. That would be so funny, especially if he has a move where he just suddenly looks at the camera and goes, Orewa? like from Yakuza 3. Or maybe it would be Ichiban. Yeah.
I also kind of just don't want a dude.
Yeah.
No fighting game characters, no Fire Emblem characters, no swords, no dudes. Give me something weird.
I mean, they're reasonable rules. Maybe it's the bad guy from Metroid Prime 4. I don't know.
Oh, tie-ins.
Yeah.
That would be weird.
Not actually make Linkle. I don't know.
That is the one other way that it could go, is to be like one more character from one of the already existing franchises. It's not going to happen, but everyone would lose their shit if it turned out to be Waluigi right at the end.
My god! I mean, that's the obvious easy win,
Yeah.
right, isn't it? But every indication is that they're not going to do that.
No.
I believe he's not in it already.
I mean, he is, but he's an assist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's which is what's riled everyone. It's like where's the Waluigi love? Almost everyone else is there from the canon, just not Waluigi.
I don't know if you can say almost everyone else, but they did put in the Piranha Plant. They put in the Piranha Plant. That is the argument.
Yeah,
the
that's
classic
a weird
argument.
one.
I mean, Waluigi's more mainstream than, I don't know, if they throw in King Boo or something like that, then, which is a surprise, in a weird way. Like, there's no Boo action in the game at all, is there?
No.
No.
I guess. Apart from possibly a spirit, I bet there is.
Oh, yeah,
probably several.
Yeah, there'll be a billion of them. But there's no, I mean, dry bones. Like, people in like Koopa Troopa.
Yeah, I guess.
Birdo. Where's me Birdo?
Well,
at?
Toad was the other classic, but he doesn't make sense as a fighting character, but...
Well, no, and he's sort of already part of Peach, which is somewhat awkward.
Although kind of unnecessarily. I never understood why they added him to her throws, because he's not actually he's just doing a stylish pose in front of the throw that's happening.
He's kind of like nothing to see. Nothing to see here. Princess Peach is infallible. Don't have to look at this.
And that's news, I guess.
Smash is always
a couple of small things that we don't have to talk about, but Space Punks is a new game announced from Flying Wild Hog, who made Shadow Warrior, which looks like Diablo mixed with Borderlands.
I still kind of want to play one of the new Shadow Warriors at some point.
Yeah, the third one looks pretty cool.
The third one looks mad.
Yeah. It's kind of like Doom in some ways.
Comedy Doom. If Doom and Serious Sam had some horrible, horrible moment together, you end up with Shadow Warrior.
Yeah, I've watched the trailer and it doesn't look that good, in my opinion. I mean, it looks okay, but I don't like that style of...
I'm
not huge keen on that art style.
Okay, describe it. I haven't seen it.
Well, it looks exactly like Borderlands.
Oh, what sort of the comic booky black outlines?
Yeah,
grimy ass textures.
Grimy textures, yeah.
Yeah, that sort of thing, except it's like a isometric Diablo style game, which might be kind of fun, but it's got the same kind of edgy humor and all that kind of stuff, so yeah.
That's a really tricky thing to get right, isn't it? It's just...
Yeah, because Borderlands 3 kind of screwed that up completely, didn't it?
No, none of us played Borderlands 3. But did you?
I've not played it, but I've seen a lot of footage of it and people playing it and stuff. And yeah, it didn't look.
I mean, it was starting to fall off in the end of Borderlands 2. It was just like, this is You've run out of. It was funny at the start, and now you're just grinding it into the ground.
Yeah, and then the whole Handsome Jack focus in the pre-sequel as well put a lot of people off. They've split their clearly there's an audience that still likes that stuff, otherwise surely Gearbox wouldn't keep cranking it out in that style. So whatever audience is stuck with it likes that thing, right? But they somehow managed to split their original audience after 2. I feel like there was more of us back then.
Well, also they put it on Epic and everything.
Yeah.
That was part of the problem.
Yeah, but that was no surprise. They were working quite closely with Epic for the Unreal Engine stuff they wanted in it. And then it took them 1 billion years to actually make it, so by that point it was a bit late. Borderlands 3 was just late. Should have come out years earlier.
Maybe.
It missed its moment. And I don't think Wonderlands is going to save it.
No.
No, I'm not convinced by that game either. But we haven't really seen much of it yet, to be honest. I
No,
guess.
we've not seen any gameplay or anything. I mean, there was that, Gearbox... Didn't Gearbox do a sort of E3 thing where it's just sort of them doing behind-the-scenes stuff, except they told us absolutely nothing? I didn't watch it, but because, Randy Pitchford, who wants to watch that guy? And also, I wasn't expecting anything to come of it, and apparently nothing came of it. What a waste of everyone's time.
There's a lot of that this year, I thought, as well. There's a few other shows that were just a whole lot of nothing. There was that new publisher that got not new publisher, but the new subsidiary of a publisher or something that announced
and
they did a show and it was just awful.
And then they had those 2 developers, the British developers, turn up and say, "We're forming a studio, but we haven't got a game to show you." So it's well, why are you here? Why are you here?
Yeah.
I mean, I wonder if it's just Jeff Keighley putting in word ahead. It's that means, okay, now we've done this for you. You've got to do it. You've got to show your game, right? Every year you've got to show us something, yeah? That's how Jeff Keighley does business.
I think part of that, was that the one with the 2 Call of Duty veterans?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's part of it, wasn't it? Because it's the Call of Duty veterans. They're people are probably going to want to know what they're up to. I mean, and then also the fact that they partnered with Sony, so they wanted to. Sony probably wanted it to.
I mean, it's worked before, isn't it? It worked for, clearly worked for Respawn in the past. They'll be like, "Yeah, we're Call of Duty vets. We're making our own studio. We're making this. We're making Titanfall." And everyone's like, "Ooh!" It's but they kind of did all that after they had a game to show.
Yeah, exactly.
Very weird.
And they did the classic. We're making something that no one will have ever seen before kind of thing. We're going to push the boundaries, all that shit. It's that's always goes down well, doesn't it, when people say that?
It's going to be a battle royale.
Probably.
10 years after battle royales are done.
Yep.
It's locked up in that Fortnite money, yo. Not even Battlefield are going to attempt that again.
No, they've given up on battle royale.
Thankfully.
I mean, out of all the games that could do battle royale well, you'd think Battlefield would be one of them, really.
Yeah, but they tried it and no one liked it
because they did it badly, from what I could tell.
Yeah, it was I think if Battlefield 5 had launched with that, I reckon they might have sold a few more copies of Battlefield 5, right? Because it was kind of at the height of the Battle Royale craze. And they might have done, but they were so late to the party with it in the end. It took them forever for it to come out. And by that point, no one was playing Battlefield 5 anyway, as far as I can tell. This is what it sounded like. It's like the numbers had already fallen off. Everyone was
I think it was a combination of things where they made a Battlefield that no one really wanted to play, and then they released a BR a year later or something that just wasn't very good either. So it was just a combination of...
And it wasn't like they were doing a Warzone where it was free and anyone could drop in and play it. They added it on to 5. Shall I even be calling it 5? Is it Battlefield V, technically? I'm not even sure.
Wait until the next one comes out that has an actual number instead of a date.
2042.
No.
Wait until 6
Yeah.
happens.
Wait, that'll be the proof, whether that was 5 or not. Not that will even make sense, because 5 wasn't 5, and 1 wasn't 1.
It's the Xbox One all over again. Have we reached the end of your snippets? You got
A
another
couple
snippet?
more little ones.
Keep snipping.
One of them is that Microsoft have confirmed they're no longer working on Universal Windows apps anymore. They're getting rid of that.
Yeah, that's been kind of brewing for a while. Because, UWP didn't really work on a technical level, let alone let alone a game development level or anything like that. UWP was a good idea, but there's now no real need for it now that they don't really have multiple devices. They're not in Windows anymore. They're not in Windows Phone anymore or anything like that. The need for a UWP platform has kind of gone away.
Mm. So that's good for gamers, at least, because the whole system was pretty bad. Yeah.
There was definitely some specifics to that just didn't really work. They're still probably going to have some of the when the bad side to that is they don't necessarily need to fit into the UWP framework anymore to get featured on Windows Store or anything like that, but you might still have to fit in within the sandbox of Windows Store, or how some of those things organize themselves. So modding is practically impossible if you've got a Windows Store version of a game, right? Because of the way Windows hides all that stuff away from you. I
really don't understand what the point of it is.
I mean, it's good for some things, right? Presumably, if you were to if a multiplayer game was to launch there and Windows was to sandbox that off from you, it's okay, that's good, right? Because it means the probability of a cheater getting into that is probably smaller. Probably.
It doesn't really do. It helps a little, but then most of the cheats work by reading your RAM.
Right, yeah.
So that's not going to help, is it, really?
No, well, it might make it harder for them to figure it out, right? There's less to reflect. There's fewer DLLs they can look at and be okay, we need to look for that. And I know it's a lot more complicated than that, trust me, but it's... the problem with that as well is no one's going to play it if it's on the Windows Store either. Yeah, exactly. Windows Store hasn't exactly got traction unless you're
Game Pass.
Getting hold of Game Pass for Windows stuff.
That's pretty much the only reason I would use it.
Yeah, I mean, it's still the only reason I use it, if something like that comes up.
Well, or if an Xbox game was cross-buy or whatever. That's the other reason, I guess.
Yeah. Which they all are now? Is that right? Anything that's first party is...
I think first party, definitely, but there was some third party stuff as well, wasn't there?
Yeah, I don't know. I've never known if that stuff was all... I mean, I've definitely looked at some things in the past to be okay, is this cross-play? Is this, would this work? If I was playing this here, would that work with other platforms here? And most of the time the answer is no, not at all. But there's still the split between the Steam version of the game won't run with the Windows version of the game, which is irritating.
Yes.
Because there was a period of time where you had I think you were playing the Steam version of Deep Rock Galactic, and there was a brief moment when Deep Rock Galactic was on Game Pass for Windows or something like that, and it's nah, the two aren't going to talk.
Yeah, they're having problems with that, apparently, because I think they want to make it cross-play eventually, but their main problem at the moment is the modding, like you just said.
Yeah,
because Steam, obviously, you would just use the workshop, but because they want to make the modding compatible between the two versions as well, they're not going to use Steam Workshop. They're going to use another mod database outside the game, and naturally, everyone on Steam is pissed off about that because it's why the fuck don't you just use this really convenient thing that's built into Steam?
And it's because crossplay, folks.
I suppose it's going to become even more prevalent with Epic stores as well now, right? Because games are on there as well as Steam, so they're going to have to come up with ways of dealing with that.
There's definitely games on there that don't share information with other PC platform versions. I was playing Art of Rally a while back, and it doesn't share its leaderboards with the Steam version, which is kind of weird because it makes the Epic one pretty desolate.
Yeah.
There aren't nearly as many players on the Epic version as there are on Steam. as you might expect. But yeah, that's I mean, I don't know how you get around that unless you have to build your own universal server to deal with that. That's how it has to work.
Isn't that what Satisfactory does?
Well, they use
how Satisfactory works.
They use a special Epic backend thing that can cross-communicate between the two platforms, apparently, which is also what Rocket League uses between the Steam and Epic version. So there's some special thing that Epic made to allow that to happen, but I think Satisfactory's version of it is like they've customized it themselves as well, so it's even more specific than just the Epic thing that they made. But yeah, it can work, but it's not easy.
And then I guess that means Epic has to choose to put the work in to make it work with Windows Store. Is there a Windows Store version of Rocket League? Sounds like there would be.
So. Yeah, I don't know. Not that I've heard of.
But again, you're in Epic land if you want all of that stuff. Which, I guess it's Unreal Engine's favour. That's what they want. But I mean, I guess
presumably they only do it for people they've partnered with as well, right? Otherwise, you have to pay a ton of money, probably.
Maybe, yeah. Or you probably have to pay a service charge to keep that operational. A subscription of some kind. Like a hella expensive corporate subscription, obviously, but yeah, who knows? Who knows how it works? Or maybe it's just an extra part of your cut with Epic. I mean, like No Man's Sky, I believe, built their own system entirely to get that to work, because those versions are all like it's total crossplay now on No Man's Sky.
Yeah,
like everything works with everything, which is fantastic. So
I think Destiny is the same as well, isn't it?
I think it got there. I can't remember. It definitely wasn't at first.
No, that's something they added in, but I think they have got it to there now, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Which is great, but yeah, you have to have put a hell of a lot of effort into building your own systems most of the time.
I think that's the problem, isn't it? Is that smaller companies are just not going to be able to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Which is a bummer, and it was also another sort of nail in the. I was about to say nail in the coffin. That's not strictly right, but like another sort of mark into the why making a multiplayer game, if you're a smaller studio, is such an enormous risk.
Oh yeah, there's tons of competition to start with, and then you have
there's so much competition.
All the issues with
you've got
the actual server sides, and
you've got to somehow get discovered and picked up. I mean, I guess that's the only reason like Fall Guys blew up is because someone started paying attention, like Sony started paying attention to it, I think, and then they put it on PS Plus, and it's like, I don't know if that game would have been as big as it was if it hadn't had.
Well, it was a good acquired game as well, right?
Yeah,
so that helped,
I guess. But it acquired publisher backing, right? And then, as I say, because it went on PS Plus, everyone had it for a while. I say for a while, everyone's got it who had it at the time, who picked it up at the time, and it's which is often key. I mean, I would argue that's part of Rocket League's whole thing. Would Rocket League have been as big as it was without the PS Plus version? Just putting it in the hands of 1 billion players all at once?
Probably, because most people were playing it on PC way before that.
I don't know. Did that happen? I thought it all kind of launched at the same time.
I mean, the beta version existed for some period of time before the actual launch on PC, but I don't know how significant that was.
It's not like super acrobatic rocket-powered battle cars blew up. It's kind of the same game. Kinda. I'm still bitter about Laser League. That's all.
That game was interesting.
That game was cool. I really liked Laser League. That was but the players just fell off. Anyway.
Same with a lot of these games. That's what annoys me about multiplayer games. Is I've played quite a few niche multiplayer games and then really enjoy it, but then it's just dead after a month. So it's like, well, what can you do? Like I used to love what was it called? Gotham Imposters. I love that game.
Oh yeah,
it's like one of my favorite FPSs. It's so damn good, and it just died.
Yeah, I remember you getting into that.
It's honestly really good fun. I love that game. I wish they'd make more stuff like that.
Well, we're going to pull one out for Monday Night Combat again.
As always.
Yeah, every time this gets mentioned. Have to. Absolutely have to. Also, I want to pull one out for Tetris Effect Connected while we're talking about that, because no one played that like a week after it launched.
Yes, that's because it's Tetris.
Yeah, but it's the best Tetris. And I kind of just want to... Yeah, kind of just
it's also
what a
on
different...
Xbox, which is not where people play games like that, I guess. People play it on PlayStation, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that Xbox version. I've played both. Well, it's because it only came out on PS originally, didn't it?
Yeah, it launched on PlayStation originally, and then the connected version of
Tetris
Effect
Xbox
came out
that exclusively, didn't it?
For a while, although connected will come to PS4, I believe, later this year. So there'll be a free add-on to the PlayStation version,
which is just weird in itself.
And I believe it's coming to PC as well, if it hasn't already. Maybe that launched on Windows Store. I don't know. Maybe that's one of those.
But yeah, I did try playing that, but I'm just so bad at Tetris because I never replayed it much before.
I mean, we were
no point.
we tried playing Connected and getting on to what we've been playing, I suppose. The three of us played, me, Gnome, and Zach tried playing the Connected mode locally, and we started to struggle with it. Was it level 2 even? The 4 or 5 main levels there are of that mode, and it's like, yeah, level 2 is tough.
It's because it goes immediately to instant drop, which I feel like that's kind of like going a bit hard for a Tetris game, really. That should be a kind of a late game thing.
Yeah, it goes to really fast, and then the next time he uses that ability, the bad guy uses that ability, it goes really, really fast, and then the next time he uses it, it's really, really, really fast. Like it's almost getting up to master level immediately, and it's like that's such a killer.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a problem with Tetris because it's not an easy thing to play, really, unless you've played a lot of it and know how to do it. So I think they cater far too much for the hardcore crowd with Tetris games a lot of the time.
Yeah, maybe. This is one of, like, in general, Tetris Effect is one of the more accessible ones, but not that mode. Definitely not that mode. It's a... What was I going to say? It's like, well, it was slightly worrying when Gnome dropped out eventually after we'd had a few attempts at it and was like, nah, I'm done. And we were like, oh, okay, well, let's try throwing an AI in there. So we threw a mid-level AI in there, and it was way better than either of us. Like a mid-level AI.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like people are they're just so good at that game. Like the balance of it is just really hard to get right, I imagine.
Yeah, probably. It's I'm not going to knock Tetris. I love Tetris. Like it's something I've just sort of got, especially the more modern ones. I've just got into it like last few years.
Oh yeah, I think Tetris is brilliant, but I just never play them because I'm just not good enough.
Yeah, it is a. I have got a lot better since I was like mainlining Tetris Effect and Tetris 99 for a while, but it's even still. Like I find the biggest problem I always have with a Tetris is when you put the block. Like, just your thumb doesn't do what your mind is saying, right? You put it, you know your thumb is messed up, and you're like, cock, I didn't mean to put it there. I knew exactly that I was where I wanted that to go, and I didn't do that. That is the worst. And then you're like, well, I'm boned now.
Pretty much.
So Tetris Effect, what else have you been playing? Let's just skip in.
We're moving on to that now.
Yeah, I'm moving on.
Well, before my phone dies, I could get through all these demos because I had to write notes. Because I realised that I'd been leaving them installed on Steam so I could remember. But then I realised I wasn't going to be at my computer. I was like, oh shit, I better write these into my phone. So yeah.
You might be here.
I've got the whole 6 different demos and then 3 other games I've been playing.
6?
Technically, one of them we already talked about, but I wanted to go back to talk about again briefly. Terra Nil, that I talked about last time. I remembered that I had played the version of it that's on IO, the web version. Not really web version, you still download it. I'd played that before in a super early stage when it only had like 1 level or whatever. And I realised that since then they had actually finished that version, so I just went and downloaded that and played that through. Because I was like, maybe I could use this to work out what the other like mechanics might be in the real version.
Oh, I see. Right.
And yes, it does appear to have there's like one more biome, so there's like one more mechanical way to create the different landscapes, but it's not really, it's not really anything different. The only restriction is like as I said, it was like the landscape, the terrains are made specifically to make it hard, where it's just like this one has a lot of terrain that's like elevated, and you can edit the terrain elevation as well slightly using one of the buildings. And then the other thing I briefly wanted to mention about the Steam version of Terra Nil that I'd forgot, but is kind of just funny, is like when you finish the demo and it brings up just like a splash screen, which is like wish list or whatever. There's like wish list, there's back to main menu, and then there's just a button that just says I prefer factories, and if you click on that, it just opens the store page for Factorio.
Oh, amazing!
And that's not even the same developer or anything.
That's hilarious.
So it's just like a funny joke that they put in.
That's great.
But it's not even their game or anything.
I prefer factories.
So that's Terra Nil. Got through that. Then the actual 5 more demos of stuff that I played, which you might notice a theme of them being basically all games that the games that I like. There's like kind of technically 3 city builders, I guess, more like 2. And then a couple that are like Transport Tycoon. So we've got Timberborn. That one wasn't really related to the Steam Next Fest demo period. I think that had been out for a while beforehand. I think it was just coincidental that they put their stuff onto Steam at the same time.
And it turned up in PC Gamer Show, I think. Yeah.
Because I think it had been in early access for a while, but I think maybe the demo came out during the Next Fest.
Oh, I see. Right.
But yeah, so I played the demo of that, and that's basically...
Beavertown.
Yeah, Beavertown. It's basically banished with beavers, kind of. But obviously, because it's beavers, its like special mechanic is building dams, obviously. Because basically the rivers are super seasonal, so like during the summer, the river just goes away. So if you haven't built a dam, you're basically fucked. Because all your food just dies.
So the water level's all dynamically managed, and where you put your dams is
so you
pretty
can,
important.
if you build a dam like across the top of a valley, you can contain more water or whatever to make it last longer during the dry seasons.
That makes sense.
Which is kind of cool, except I don't know if it's just a demo/early access thing, but it's like the 2 different maps that they let you play in the demo, it feels quite harsh. Right? It's like, you really have to go quite hardcore to get these dams finished before the water all goes away and you die.
Yeah, okay. So a little bit of balance needed, but...
Yeah, maybe.
I guess the problem with putting a demo like that together sometimes is like by the time the full game comes out, if you've managed to master that process in the demo,
you might be too good.
You might be too good when the real game comes out, and it's easing you into it. And it's all like, yeah, I know, I've got good at this.
But then again, there's like, well, I mean, there would be ways that you could make it work mechanically, but there's like, it is because it's just the water is there or the water isn't there. There's not really a way to like have a mid step between that, unless you do make a specific mechanic where it's like this year the river kept going, but it's like not as much or whatever, something like that. But yeah, I played that demo, and there's not really that much to say about it. It's a city builder, but then you just have this dam thing on top of it, which kind of controls your irrigated zone to grow crops or whatever.
How the beavers look.
Very small and not actually that well animated.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's disappointing.
But that could be an early access thing as well,
Little beavers. When little cute little beaver people. We're like, the beavers.
Yep.
They have the best tails.
They don't really, they're almost too small to tell they're beavers most of the time in the view that you're playing that game from. Naturally. And then the next one is a game called Urbeck, which is a more literal city builder. It's you're building a city, but it uses a style sort of similar to the old like Pharaoh games and those kind of things, where like services and services and other kinds of buildings that are within a certain distance of a plot of land change what buildings evolve. So like you draw out a residential zone and it gets filled with shitty wooden buildings to start with. But then if you're like, oh, this residential zone has enough residential zones around it that it now counts as dense, so it gets bigger, and then you put like a school and now it's educated, so it gets more fancy houses or whatever. So you're like trying to build up this city. So it's one of those kind of games, but then it also expands that out to be like more specific to industries and stuff like that. Like if you have a woodcutter's cabin on the edge of the woods, you can upgrade it by having like a little patch of houses near it. So it's like, here's where the workers for this woodcutter's hut live, essentially.
I see. So they're trying to abstract away some of the minutiae of city building, but like letting you focus on the concepts of areas. And is that a way of describing that?
Kind of. It's more like I guess it is getting rid of the minutiae, because it's like you're getting rid of a bunch of specific like zones essentially for just having one generic here's where the houses go zone that like gets modified by other things that are near it.
So you're still having to effectively zone out like this is a residential district.
Yeah,
but you're not building all the individual roads or anything.
Well, you are building roads.
Oh, okay.
It's everything says like.
So it is SimCity.
Well, yes, but everything says like when you select like the zone layout, it will be like this zone can exist up to 3 tiles away from a road. So it's like how deep away from the road you can build the zone, so how big you might want to grid it and that kind of thing. Or you can just have it not attached to a road and just have it like near a road. So things like farms will be like, it can be up to 5 tiles away from a road. So you could have it have a 5 deep farm, or you could have like a 3 deep farm with some houses in front of it or something.
Ditch.
Yeah, pretty much.
Massive ditch.
So that seems kind of cool. It seems like it has a reasonably well balanced system for that, and different options. Like if you build houses in very tiny patches far apart, they turn into villas, and if you build a bunch of houses in the vicinity of a mine, it turns into a mining town. But then like those specific houses also give you a bonus to like the mineral output.
Oh,
so like there's an actual reason to build like a shit part of your town that's near the mines.
Because the workers need to work.
Yeah, because that part of your town actually gives you a bonus to the mineral output.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting.
It is kind of nice, and it has like I don't know if it's voxel. It kind of looks in that kind of style, like low res. I couldn't tell whether it was actually voxel because I wasn't paying that much attention. I was looking at mechanics. But yes.
How long has it been since you played the City game, Kips?
SimCity 4.
It's been a while. I think the last one I played was City Skylines a little bit.
Oh, you did actually play that? Okay.
But yeah, that was like when it first came out, and it had none of the expansions or anything. So I don't know what it's like nowadays. But
see, I was going to make a punt that it might have been black and white or something like that.
That's not really a city builder.
It's got plenty of building.
It does. It's not necessarily the focus of that game. And now
I've been kind of out of the city building game for a while. They are cool though. There's a few that I've been looking at. I don't know if Rise of Industry counts. I don't know what that game is, but it looks kind of interesting.
Rise of Industry is basically Industry Giant. It's someone trying to remake Industry Giant, as far as I can tell.
It might be falling into it might be falling into the trap of one of those. We're remaking that game
and not doing anything
good.
Not better.
Yeah. Speaking of which, well, I guess that's not quite the next one, but we're coming to the 3 games that are kind of not as good as those first 3. There's Power to the People, which was a weird. It sort of looks like a city builder, except the only thing you're building is like the power infrastructure.
Oh, okay.
So you're building power plants, and then like you have to have high voltage lines, and then you go to a substation, and then you do low voltage lines inside the towns, and the towns just grow automatically. A bit like Transport Tycoon's towns, kind of. But then the idea is that because the towns are constantly growing, it constantly adds more load to your system, so you have to like reroute your lines so they don't get overloaded and blow out the transformers or the substation or whatever.
And then do a deal with France.
Yeah, and then do a deal with France. But like that game seems like that's basically all of its mechanics, and it seems kind of too simple. And also, it's also like super real time. Like it has a. I mean,
what do you mean? It's going to take like 50 years.
Well, no, not literal real time, but it has like as you might imagine, it has like a power curve where like during different points during the day, people use more or less power, so you can see it how it progresses.
Everyone goes out at work, so there's no power load during the day, and then. But
the trouble with that is that it also kind of commits to real time, where you can't really do anything in pause. Like so, when where as the power load starts going up and you're looking at your power grid and you're seeing a thing that's about to overload, you can't really do anything about that. It's just going to overload, and then you have to fix that, and then you're basically just clicking to spend money, where it's like, oh, that transformer blew up, well, I'll wait for the power load to go down, click to spend money to repair it, and then I can think about actually fixing the whole situation, because it's all running in real time. And the fail condition is you didn't supply power to a certain percentage of people for a certain amount of time.
Too much brownout.
Yeah, too much brownout, basically. So it's because of that commitment to real time, you can't really. It doesn't mesh very well with planning. Essentially, you don't have time to think, but then when you don't think, you rush, and then you make bad designs, and then it overloads and it explodes all the time. So I don't know what that game is really trying to be. It doesn't really feel like it succeeded very well at what it was trying to do. But I mean, it's a nice concept in some ways to be here's we're going to make the power management of a city builder more actually realistic. You don't just put a power plant down and it just works.
Some lines, yeah.
But it doesn't quite execute it well enough.
Yeah, I wonder if it's the real time element is a reaction to, surely it's a puzzle that's easily solved. Once you know what the solution is.
The other trouble is,
as you have with games, it's once you know the solution, it's the game is gone.
Well, the other trouble with it is that I think it doesn't quite give you enough information to solve the puzzle either. When you highlight a segment of your wire, it shows all the buildings that are attached to that wire, essentially. But that's kind of too vague to know exactly how many megawatts are going to go through that bit of wire or whatever. It doesn't give you numbers. So when you're trying to balance it, you're well, if I demolish the end of this wire and build this wire one tile further, so these two buildings will swap between which wire they're attached to, and then that will balance it better or whatever. It's just it doesn't quite give you enough information to actually do that management that well, or that precisely, I should say. So there's that. Then there's the bad Transport Tycoon game that I played.
The bad Transport Tycoon.
Which has the incredibly bad name because it's just called Cargo Company. Most generic name you could possibly think of.
That is quite bad.
But yeah, that's basically bad Transport Tycoon. Someone's tried to make a Transport Tycoon game and it's just a bit jank, and the animations are kind of naff, and things don't...
I mean, have they seen OpenTTD?
Yeah, well, that's kind of cheating though, because that is basically Transport Tycoon.
Yeah. But it's, there's the original Transport Tycoon, which is still probably the gold standard of that style of game.
Yes.
Even with, I don't know, all the new options OpenTTD throws in are nice as well, but so you can, manipulate it into something weird.
Yeah.
But it is kind of, that thing looks like jank right nowadays.
Well,
even with the graphics packs.
Not as much as this does,
really,
I'll tell you that much.
Really, even with, ships only move in 8 directions, or things only have 8 angles of animation.
This appears to have even less angles of animation somehow, even though it kind of can't, because that's how many angles of animation there is. It just looks like it.
Weird.
And also, it just doesn't have a full suite of mechanics yet. It only has one type of train signal, so it's very generic, point-based pathing.
Sure.
And trains can turn around on the spot if you fuck up and that kind of thing. So it's just not very mechanically dense.
Can you build another truck?
Yes. Well, not in the demo.
No.
Trains only in the demo. And it's one slightly different thing that it tries to do is it tries to basically, it wants to be near future Transport Tycoon, where the idea is that you're building transport networks on different planets, essentially. You build the transport network on Earth, but most of the products are with the goal of making the rocket stuff, essentially, colony equipment and whatnot.
It's Factorio!
Kind of, except then you launch the rocket and then you go to the moon map, and then you can build little transport networks on the moon to take hydrogen and stuff to different moon colonies.
It's Factorio with that mod.
Yes, space exploration. So that's what it tries to do. But what that is actually doing is hiding the map sizes aren't very big, so we had to have multiple maps.
Maybe, yeah. We couldn't simulate it that big.
Yeah. So that was the bad Transport Tycoon game.
Sorry, Cargo Company.
And then the last one of these demos is I wouldn't say it's bad. It's not amazing, but it's not... Well, it's obviously not comparable, but it's the not as good FTL that someone's trying to make called Trigon. And In this one,
I don't like that name just because it sounds too much like Trigun.
Yeah. In this case, it is very literally, it's just FTL. Like, it's... Or if you could sue for this kind of thing, you could sue for this kind of thing, because it's like, this is so much... It's basically stolen everything about FTL. Like, all the, like, subsystems and everything, and how they level up, and what stat bonuses they give to your ship. And
Right. So it's too identical.
Its only difference is that it's, like, actual 3D graphics now instead of pixel art. So it's like, you get a nice little... sort
I
of
don't know if
semi
that's a positive.
well no yeah it makes it kind of harder to play because everything's less distinct.
Yeah.
Like all the rooms in your ship don't show up as easily what they are and that kind of thing, but the shooting things looks better, I suppose.
Well, yeah. Like, probably easily.
But it does still function like FTL. Like when you warp into a new system, it then like does a split screen and then the other ship comes up and then you just shoot at each other. And it's got the same, like, toggle the weapons and set them to auto-fire and missiles go through shields. It's, like, pretty much all the mechanics of FTL.
Wow. That's pretty shameless.
Yeah.
I mean, is it? But in the same breath, it's been a while.
Yeah, like, no one else has made another clone of FTL, really. In that specific style, anyway.
Can't throw a too soon joke at it.
No.
But so why isn't it as good?
It's just, like... Well, I mean, it's hard to tell from the demo, I guess, but it feels like the events aren't quite as well structured, and it somehow feels like it like puts too much pressure on you like too quickly. I couldn't really tell. Like it felt like because a lot of the time in the FTL, when you finished with an event, you're just like you can deal with things. But this one, I had a couple of situations where it's like, no, you have to just go. Well, I mean, FTL did that as well, I suppose, because you had like
to escape.
You had the asteroid belts and the solar flares, where it's like if you hang around, you're just going to get continuously pounded, even if you're not fighting anything.
Yeah, so it's like you just got to jump out.
But I feel like in the demo, at least, and this might just be a demo thing, like that happened too frequently. Like right. I went straight from a solar flare to an asteroid belt immediately.
And you're like, oh no,
it's just like this is a bit much.
I mean, I guess that could happen.
And also...
Can that happen? I mean, I guess that can happen in FTL as well.
It can, yes. But also, the other reason it felt not as good, I think, is just like... Because of the 3D graphics, not the pixel art style, and because everything feels more indistinct, it does just... You don't feel as in control of it, where it's just like you still pause and you can still set up the firing and all that kind of stuff, and you still move your little dudes around inside the rooms, but it's not as instantly visually clear as what's going on.
Right.
Like when things are shooting at each other, it's not as immediately obvious if it's missing or not. Like the little text thing pops up where it's like miss or how much damage it does, but it's so tiny and it's on top of this fancy 3D model with a bunch of other effects going on. I think pixel art just helps FTL a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
And also it ran kind of not great, but that's probably just my computer.
We've been saying it for a while. It's well overdue.
Yes.
But not a good time to do it.
Not the worst time to do it. In fact, just as I actually probably I'm having that pang though. It's the worst time to do it, but I am having that pang with my machine now. Not because I'm the graphics side. I don't play anything on my PC that's pushing it too hard on that side at the moment. But CPU wise, I could do with a bit more juice. The CPU's my bottleneck now. If for nothing else, rather than the actual sort of music-y side of things, it's like, oh boy, do I put too much strain on that now. But I don't know, it's like, CPU, is the CPU scene as bad as the graphics scene?
Well, it's all chips, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think they're quite readily available though, aren't they?
I don't know. Well, I've not been paying attention. It's a legitimate question.
Probably because demand isn't as high, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, yes, if you can't get a graphics card, then you're not going to want a CPU as much.
That's true. Well, that's true. I guess businesses still need business machines, but
Well, it's not something you upgrade that often either, right?
No.
You tend to upgrade your graphics card more than your...
way more frequently than you do your base. Yeah. Yeah, because it would be quite a shift for me. You can't just upgrade your CPU most of the time, right? No. You need a new motherboard.
Exactly.
You need new... And, half the time, by the time you do that, there's new RAM tech. So it's like you got to buy new RAM sticks as well. I have absolutely no idea whether things have moved on that side from this machine, but this machine's, what, 3 years old? I don't know. It's not as old as I think, is the thing, this machine. Like, I feel like it's older, but it's not. Maybe I just bought the wrong CPU. I don't know.
That could be the case.
I went overkill on the CPU for that very reason.
Yeah.
Well, I think the CPU is the thing to go overkill on.
Absolutely. Really. Yeah, it's a good choice, because I made a few mistakes with this machine. I'm sure I make a few mistakes every time I build a machine, but it's I mean, how could you not? But yeah, it served me well for a while. The CPU, I overspec my RAM. That's probably the other thing. It's like my RAM is far too good for the rest of it. I don't think my motherboard can drive it at its max speed very well, so I had to downclock it a little, which is kind of a crucial error.
I don't think that really makes a huge difference, though.
No, RAM
in the grand scheme of things.
I mean, RAM speed's important, but it's not the worst thing. Which is kind of why I lived with it and didn't bother trying to send it all back and rebuild. It's just like, this works, and it's still a hell of a lot faster than my last machine. I'm happy, but yeah, it's kind of where I went wrong. And I've got too much RAM, if that's a thing, right? I would never ever have got near the RAM limit on anything. So I think I've got 32 gigs in this thing, and it's like that's never been a problem. Not even close to being a problem.
Play some Minecraft.
Yeah.
That'll fuck your RAM right up.
Well, Flight Sim uses a ton of RAM as well, so.
Yeah. Guess it makes sense in those circumstances, but yeah.
But yeah, I've got 32 gig as well. And you're right in saying that I've never got close to it, but it was cheap enough to it not being a problem anyway. So.
Yeah, you bought a bit later than I did, didn't you? So it's like, I guess. As with everything, memory drops, and if you time it right, it's like you can get the same amount for a lot less before there's a technology jump. Or a speed jump, I suppose, or they change the damn slot again.
Well, I didn't go like super crazy on the RAM anyway, like speed-wise or anything like that.
No, it's
I don't know what mine is, but it's not like crazy fast.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that's the most necessary thing to do. You want to worry about CPU. You want to worry about
that's
CPU.
That's the one thing I went really overkill on was the CPU.
Yeah,
because I wanted it to last a while.
Absolutely. You want to worry about CPU, and you want to worry about the motherboard's ability to use fast storage. Those are kind of the two most important things with the base of your system now. Like, can you fit when the theoretical successor to M2 drives or wherever they end up, I get a bit lost of all the goddamn new hard drive storage names. When they start using similar tech to what's in Series X and PS5, and you can more readily hook those into your board, it's like, whatever that is, you want it. You 100% want it. But maybe those are just like new IOC motherboards that have that amount of fast storage built in. Like, hey, if Dan was here, he'd be going like, Apple, look at that Apple gear.
No use to us.
Yeah, no use to us.
Yeah.
Like your demo spree?
Yeah, that was the demo spree.
Shall I talk about some more demos before we...
before we talk about the actual games we played, I guess.
While we're in demo land. I played that Sable demo.
Right, yeah. I thought about it, but I didn't.
Yeah, because Sable's been on my radar for a while, and it's... I'm not sure it's 100% what I was expecting, to be honest.
Okay.
I kind of imagined a sort of a Breath of the Wild-y type thing. I don't know why. I guess I like most open world games where they're doing that atmospheric feel kind of immediately comes across to me as like, this is probably going to be a bit Breath of the Wild-y, right? And on the surface, it kind of is, like in some respects. Like it has a climbing mechanic with a stamina bar. It has a big-ish. Well, the demo obviously I can't get everywhere, but there's a world you can traverse, and you can go pretty much anywhere you can see from the start. But what surprised me is like there's a little bit of like there's no combat like in this demo at all, and it's like, okay, does that mean there's like no combat in the game at all? Have I missed something there? I thought I mean, I racked my brains about it a little bit, and it's just like, yeah, I guess we've never have seen anything that looks a bit combat-y in this thing. Like, it's all just been the lovely graphics and the lovely style, and it's weird, almost stop motion animation style, where the animation is intentionally low refresh compared to everything to make it look more comic booky, and that French comic book style everywhere, with its washed out palette and its quite lovely smoke at times, like they come out the back of the bike. But anyway, the demo is about building the bike that they've shown in all the other trailers, the fancy one with the nice red trail, and you don't have that in this. You have like this rust bucket that kicks up smoke everywhere, and it's about finding the parts to put it together. As I forget what they called you, but you're like, ooh, you've been granted this rite of passage, and now you're this type of person, and now you can go do these things, and you go to some ruin and get the ability to create like a hover bubble, and then you can glide to places. Glider, that's what they call you. They call you gliders. And I mean, it looks nice, but I don't know if there was a huge amount to really grab hold of, really, from that demo experience. It's nice, nice looking, nice atmospheric. I mean, okay, I say it's nice looking. It's not as nice looking as I would have liked. Like, it needs more options to be like increase the level of detail of things to be a bit further away. Because I found like the yellow D jumps were quite jank, like partly because of the style of it. I guess like you could walk up to a bush and it would sometimes be like just a blob, and other times it would be like a detailed bit of, bits of fern, I guess, or stuff sticking off, or like a fur looking thing. But sometimes it didn't seem like it could make up its mind about which one to pick. Some of the animation needs work in places, like especially the mantle. I guess it's like standard word for climbing up a little ledge. I guess like it's just like I could get myself stuck every now and then, sort of in a bit of a jiggle, and be like, I'm not really supposed to be here. Or there were times where you'd climb up onto a ledge only to immediately fall off it, and then he would automatically get back into the climbing animation and try and climb up it again, only to immediately fall off it. And it's like there are spots where some of the traversal doesn't actually work all that great. But hey, early, coming out later this year, but so it really isn't early in the length of time they've had to work on this. But yeah, it's just, as I said, it's just not quite what I thought. I thought they'd be. There's a hook missing from that demo. Like there's a reason. I think there's a reason to care missing.
Yes, but now we're just talking about it being like Journey.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe. But like Journey was more like ethereal, and like there's text, there's characters in this. There is interaction. It's like Journey gets away with just being like a good cinematic bit of storytelling. Which this isn't that. This isn't cinematic. This isn't. But it's just got a look, and if that's all it's got, then that's not enough. So we'll see. I wasn't as taken by it as I thought I would be. I guess it's the same problem I had with Tunic. Really, I wasn't as taken with that as I thought I would be when I played that demo last time. I also gave Rift Breaker Prologue a go.
Right. That is that game, right?
That is that mech game.
Right. Because whenever someone adds Prologue on it, it's like...
Yeah, no, it is that game, but it's like, are they doing the thing where it's like it's a simulation before the mission?
Right.
It's like... so... It is basically exactly the same.
I wanted to play the demo, but it's Windows 10, so I can't.
Well, you have to play it on the Xbox.
Literally the first time that's happened that I've come across a game that's not compatible with my system any longer.
Is it?
But that is my system.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know.
Another game, it did happen twice. Another game I looked at the demo of didn't even have just Windows 10 compatible. It was Windows 8 and above compatible. And I was like, really?
Yeah.
You're going to be that specific?
Yeah, something did change in Windows 8 and Windows 8.1 that would make that a distinction.
But yeah, so I couldn't play that.
But yeah, that's interesting. I haven't come across that. Well, yeah, so that was... Okay, that's a... it's a top-down, almost twin-stick shootery. Like, you can think to, like, Halo Spartan Assault a little bit in terms of how it controls. It feels a bit like that. But there's also a base building element to it. So you're building up you're doing standard things. You're putting like mining factories on resources or power plants on resources, so to build up a stronger power grid, so you can put more turrets down because you need to have a strong power grid to power your turrets, and then you eventually need to build factories to make you ammunition and upgrade yourself and yada yada yada. Fairly standard affair, I guess. And then every now and then there'll be a horde of enemies that come at you, and you better be ready for it, so you can gun them down with your turrets and your base and your walls and things like that. So it's one of those. And while I found the controls maybe a bit hard to get used to in terms of switching between the various states to do things, like
controller problems, essentially.
Yeah, a little
things that
bit.
would probably work better on PC.
It's like while you're in build mode, moving the right stick moves a cursor around the screen, effectively, to be where you're controlling. But if you want to like build a wall, like that, you're pressing A to place the wall, and then you're either moving yourself around to move the wall and leaving the cursor in place, so you're planting it on ground, or you're using the right stick. And of course, that's a bit of a weird claw thing to do with your hand, so that didn't feel quite right. Maybe they should have put, or maybe there is, and I didn't spot it, like a trigger to do the build. So there's that, but it needs a little bit of work technically. Like it was a bit framey in spots.
I can imagine.
I mean, even just when nothing's happening, it's a bit framey. Like it seems like its standard state is a bit framey. It doesn't really get any worse than that, even when things get mad, and it can get mad. That's right at the end of the demo. It basically just shows you how crazy it can get and just throws a whole load of stuff at you, and it fills the screen, and it's. I mean that's that game's thing, is volume of enemies, and it's that's pretty cool. But yeah, and it manages to stay performant during all of that. It's just that its baseline isn't where it needs to be. It needs to be solid. But it's a decent looking game. Like, you know, the lighting effects that come out of your mech at night are nice. Like when you set things on fire, there's a lovely glow. The way the environment interacts to the weaponry you're using and things like that is pretty neat. The characters talk way too much, though.
Yep,
it's got that problem. I guess that's like primarily that'll be worse when you're doing things like it, I guess tutorial style, like this demo is. So there's an awful lot of you should do this, you should do this. It's got a little bit of the StarCraft, like we need more pylons kind of going on.
Right.
Like if you're like, oh, the power grid's not strong enough, you need to build more of this. It's like, yes, I know. Like just hold off. Or like, we've not got enough storage for all this metal you're mining. We need to build more storage. And it's like, yeah, all right. And then, but I don't care. And so then it'll keep reminding you.
Yeah. Whenever there's a thing like that in a game along those lines where it warns you about storage, it's just like, that shouldn't ever be a warning. I suppose
maybe say it once.
Well, it depends on what the exact mechanics are, but assuming that if the storage fills up, the miners stop mining or the resources are infinite, then who the fuck cares about storage?
Well, that's the thing. The resources aren't infinite. They have a limit. So the little patches you're mining off the ground do have a hard limit. But the miners stop if there's no storage.
So then who cares about storage?
It's not a problem, yeah.
In fact, why even build storage at that point?
I mean, you can bone yourself, but like, okay, crap, there's been a massive attack. I haven't got a lot of time before the next one.
Right, yeah, because of it being that kind of wave-based form.
Yeah.
You want to buffer it during the lesser
exactly,
times,
yeah. So you spend all this money to rebuild your defenses, and then it's like, oh crap, I haven't got enough resource. My miners aren't actually working fast enough once I've spent everything to build up quickly enough. So there is a reason to do that.
Yeah.
So it's not on its own a bad thing. It's just the reminders are kind of irritating. Like they're just all the time. And it's like, no, I'm in the middle of nowhere fighting something. Like, I'm not going to come back right now. And its rift breaking thing is like, you can basically teleport back to your bases whenever you want. Right. There's like a free teleport, and it doesn't even cost. Given that like the AI cores to power your turrets cost energy, it's weird that teleporting is totally free. But hey, you can do it, and I guess it makes sense for like knocking the microphone over. Yeah, too many hand actions for like jumping around the map and doing things. But there is absolutely no talk from them about adding a co-op mode, and that game is screaming for a co-op mode. It would be great.
Well, yeah, I mean, especially if it was split screen.
Yeah. 100%. Like it I think it's a real missed opportunity. That game there should be a co-op mode, but it flies in the face of the story they're telling, because it's like you're the lone person going to this far away planet.
Yeah, but
because they only have enough power in the rift to send them there.
You don't have to come up with a story justification for co-op.
No,
not like Halo does.
No, there can be multiple Master Chiefs just hanging out. It's fine. Yeah, it's all right.
Considering how well it runs, maybe they don't want to do co-op for that reason.
I mean, maybe. When I say it's framey, it's very subtly framey, right? A little bit of page tearing here and there, not maintaining 60, so there's a little bit jumpy, but it's not terrible. Just like, hey, clean it up a little bit. You can optimize that. Yeah. So I don't know. It needs a bit of work, but could be all right. Could be.
Yeah.
It makes me want to play StarCraft 2 again.
You must construct additional pylons.
Because that game in co-op is great fun as well, actually.
It has a co-op? Oh, is it? Or you just mean like 2-on-1ing some AI? Or
yeah, or 2-on-2ing or whatever. It's good fun.
But StarCraft, never really got into my StarCraft.
I recommend it.
I mean, you've tried to get me into StarCraft 2 before. I think I might still have your disc. But
really?
Yeah. It was on a shelf for literally years. So it's probably in a box somewhere.
Yeah, it's good. I think if you like RTS style stuff, then there's not really anything that can beat StarCraft, really.
But there hasn't really been anything since
that's
StarCraft 2. Like, that's been great. Anyway, I think that would probably do me for dies. I did those two, really. Didn't really get too into too much stuff. What else you got?
Well, obviously the standard things that I've been playing. I've played those two games that have very conveniently similar acronyms. Derg and Dusp.
Derg and Dusp.
Played some more Deep Rock Galactic, sometimes with Rob, not always.
Yeah, briefly. Yeah.
Trundle around. I just like, that game has become a helpful sort of, non-effort game. Where
Right.
I just want to do this and not have to think about it very much. Also because, the hazard levels, you can easily just turn it down.
Turn it to easy. Just want to shoot some stuff.
Just trundle through some caves, grind out some more money and experience points for unlocking cool things later on, that kind of stuff. And then I went back to Dyson Sphere program because it'd been a while and they have been updating it. They still haven't really done any content updates. It's still just, mechanical and functional updates. But the last one that they did was, we're still not quite at blueprints yet, but they've made it so that you can copy and paste. When you could always copy a building and it would retain its settings, like the recipe or whatever. But now they've made it so when you copy a building, it also copies all the inserters that are attached to it. So if you want to, it makes it much, much quicker to expand a construction line, because you set up one building to do a recipe and then you just click and drag sideways and you can just build as many as you want, and it sets all the inserters onto the belts automatically. So it makes it super fast to scale up. Not as fast as blueprints would, but it's getting there. And they've also added a couple of extra little things along those lines with the copy pasting, where it's well, I guess they'd already put in the upgrade thing last time I played, but they've expanded it so you can now just you can either hold shift and upgrade an individual building, or you can upgrade a whole belt at once using shift, or you can change the cursor to just be an area select and just paint over things that you want to upgrade and just have it do it that way. So it's much more. It's just much quicker to deal with building stuff now.
Yeah.
As a mid step towards theoretical blueprints, if they actually decide that's necessary at this point. Because I'm sure, as we said at the time, getting blueprints that work on a spherical grid is going to be an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
Because there's no way to manage the different scaling of all the little squares as they progress towards the pole and all that. That makes the whole system kind of awkward.
Unless it's only a maximum size and they can fit within a zone as long as there isn't a change in that.
Well, because when I've been the two times that I've got into sort of the late-ish game of this, which is this most recent run and the time I was playing it before I stopped, it sort of naturally encourages you to build within the sort of grid zones anyway. Not just because it's inconvenient to be like, you don't want to go over this jank boundary, but like the way that that you typically build the factories kind of inherently is sort of linear. Like you'll have a logistics tower where it delivers the raw materials, a line of belts coming out of that, and then the factories alongside that, and then the output belt will go back into another logistics tower. That's how you don't really... Well, you can do it like this in Factorio, but this game is much more focused on the logistics system rather than the belt system. And Factorio can be like that as well. It's just, in Factorio, it's more of a personal preference thing, where it's just like, I prefer to use just belts because it's cooler.
The belts.
Rather than having just the drones carry stuff point to point. Even though in Factorio, then you get into the argument of like, the drones are much more efficient CPU-wise. So in the really late game of Factorio, when you want to build super large bases, you just kind of have to use drones instead of belts. But yeah, in Dyson Sphere Program, because the end game just kind of naturally puts you into the drone system, that linear layout, the way I originally did it was north to south, so I'd go away from the equator, and I'd have basically all my drone network would be focused around sort of a belt around the equator, and the factories would go up away from the equator, up to the first grid line. But then this run, I've been working on a maybe better, but it's sort of just a choice thing of doing horizontal, like east-west, because then you've got the whole circumference of the planet to build lines, and then you stack them vertically parallel to each other up to each grid line.
I see, yeah.
So in reality, you could easily have blueprints that just don't have to deal with the grid line you don't have to deal with the grid line.
Is this one of those things where it's like still mildly surprising that they didn't just go for a football style hex grid? You know, where they could have
hex grids would make it much more difficult for the belt phase. Like when you're dealing with having to put buildings next to a straight line, hex grids just make that way more complicated.
To a point. They're still light.
I mean, you still build like hexagonal diagonals or whatever. Not diagonals. Well, 60 degrees or whatever.
Yeah.
You can still do it.
Three directions in when that works.
But it's just that just is like, I think it's just a human thing of like, that's just more complicated.
Sure.
Human brains don't process like hexagonal angles as well as 90-degree angles.
Sure. It's a Dyson Sphere project.
And also, I think if I remember geometry rightly, I don't think hexagons actually tile properly onto a sphere either.
Oh, don't they?
You have to have pentagons mixed in.
Oh, right. Yeah, you might be right. I'm trying to figure out back when I did my my graphics course, like getting on for 20 years ago now.
Yep.
Like whether or not it is actually. No, it's not quite 20 years, 15 years ago. It was like, whether or not I figured that out. Because I did try and build a sphere in multiple different ways, like by hand, but like figuring out the vertex ways. And I was like, I can't remember how that worked out. I think I just ended up using the boring form of like how they're doing it. Like, just like
grid lines that
squares,
get smaller.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I played... Wait, what was the other thing I played? Wait, why do I need to look at my phone for this? Oh, right, yeah, of course. I followed Dan's lead and went back to Mario Odyssey.
Oh, right, cool.
Which was... obviously I hadn't played it for, I guess, 4 years. What,
4 or 5 years, since Switch came out.
Well, 2017, so it's like...
4 years.
But Odyssey wasn't first year, was it? Or was it December?
Yeah, no, Odyssey was near launch.
Was it near launch?
Yeah, it had a hell of a first year.
Oh yeah, because we talked about it at Game of the Year, where it was like Mario versus
Zelda. Yeah.
But yeah, I went back and played that again, and for not having played it since then, it's very easy to remember everything. It's just like I'm just going to each new kingdom and just clearing out everything you can possibly do before I even leave. It's like, oh yeah, well, it's also so, like to some extent you sort of know how. It's not just remembering specifics; it's remembering like how that game works. Where it's like all the subzones always have two moons, one at the end and then one which is hidden off to the side. So you're always like, oh, I just have to remember to look out for the branch point where there's the other hidden moon.
All the cutaway areas. You mean, like not the
sub-world sort
mini
of things.
stages.
Yeah. And then, I mean, to some extent, it is remembering it, which is like, oh yeah, there's that one that's hidden in that mound, and you just ground pound it, and there's this one where you have to catch it off this bird. And all these,
this one that you have to look into the sky and see a thing, and it just gives you it. And...
I don't think, is there one of those in Odyssey?
Yeah, there's like a sky taxi, isn't there? You look at it and it gives you.
Oh yeah, but that's post game though. That's that's once you've done the moon bit, and you get that's the moon rocks.
Right.
The extra moons.
That happens later. Okay.
Yes, I'd forgotten about the Sky Taxi.
Sky Taxi, yeah.
But yeah, I basically... There was only 2 moons that I specifically skipped, which were the 100 jumps on the skipping rope and 100 volleyballs.
Yeah. Ugh, I don't think I did the volleyball one.
I tried both. I think I got both of them to like 75, and then I was just like, oh, I can't be bothered to keep trying.
I know, it's just they are the worst. It's like, why are they there?
I mean, you can definitely. I don't know if they ever fix it, but there's ways to cheese. Well, there's ways to cheese both of them, but like the jump rope one was much more of a cheese. The volleyball one, if you put it in 2-player, then you can just control the hat, so that makes it much because you're not bound by physics. Essentially,
right.
You just fly the hat across the volleyball court, which makes that much easier. And then the jump rope one, I believe. You can't do it on the first run through. You have to do it in the like post game. But you remember how there's those big giant letters that spell Mario that you have to cap and then move around.
Yeah.
And you put them in the right place, it spells Mario.
Yeah.
I believe that there's some way that you can maneuver that one of those letters into the jump rope zone and it doesn't detect it, and then you just stand on top.
Oh, amazing. Right, so it's just the right height and the rope's just going around.
The rope just goes around you and you can just sit there forever.
Love it.
I don't know if they ever patched that. I'm pretty sure that was how to do it. Because I tried to do it using the scooter, the little moped thing. Because that does... Well, you can't just stand on top of that, so you can't use the same trick. But that also obstructs the rope. It like actually detects that as an obstacle.
Mashes it.
But the other thing you can do with the scooter is because it's got like a much smaller jump, you can use that to do the jumping more quickly and precisely.
Yeah.
But I couldn't get that to work any better than just regular jumps, so I kind of gave up. Also, it's quite hard to actually get the scooter in on the first jump, because you have to drive in while they're swinging it.
That's quite difficult. Mario Odyssey, though, what a hell of a game.
Yeah, so I got through basically that whole game again. I finished the game. I didn't then got dropped off from the Mushroom Kingdom, and that's where I got to. But that's like 500 stars or something, or moons.
Bonkers number.
But I'm not sure I'll go all the way to 100% again. I don't need to do any dark side or darker side.
Man, I mean, I never did 100% it, but not even close. But like some of those dark side and darker side stuff, that was just mean.
Yep.
Like, I remember you telling me that the one I'd been attempting for friggin' hours was like possibly the hardest one in the game, with like all the bills following you. And
the bullet bills on destructible terrain where you have to run out and then it all just gets destroyed as you come back.
Oh my god, so hard. I tried that for absolutely hours and just could not get it. Because it's like there's multiple routes you could possibly take on that one as well, and neither of them are good.
No.
Like the super hardcore long jump chain you could do.
Yep.
God, I mean, I couldn't just get it to stay straight was the problem with that. It was just like, whoa. Man, yeah. What a game.
Yep.
We are running over, but let's get Kips to talk about things.
Yes.
Because you've been quiet for a while.
What games have you actually been playing recently?
I've been playing quite a few different things, actually. I've been playing Chivalry 2.
Yeah.
That's a game.
That's a game.
Sure it is.
That's madness.
Should we talk a bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, we got to talk about Chivalry. It's insane. You can kill people with bread.
Yeah. I absolutely love that game. It's just pure madness, right? Right from the start. It's just
absolutely.
pure madness.
I mean,
you have up to
it goes to
64 people in games now as well. So
yeah, it goes to great lengths of introducing you to its like actually fairly complicated and almost fighting game-esque sword fighting systems with its like timing and positioning and the mechanics of actually moving your view around to drag the sword so it covers bigger areas and weird stuff like that
first and stuff like that.
And all of that goes out the window almost immediately when you get into a fight, and it's like, and you're just like battling like billions of people all at once, and it's just madness. It's just utter madness.
Yeah, because you try and learn all this stuff, and then you can't really put any of it into use because you're constantly getting like attacked by 3 or 4 people at once. So, so you never really get to use it as like a one-on-one kind of thing.
No, it's a hard game to put together. Any sort of like feeling of like, oh, I'm going to get good at this, but it's fun at the meantime.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a good game. There's several different classes you can be. You can be like a general swordsman. You can be like a long pokey stick man.
This is a good option.
Yeah, that's what I use because it's just the range helps a lot.
Yeah.
You can be an archer, of course, or a type of archer.
Boo.
Yeah, the archers are kind of dull. I mean, to be honest,
it's quite. I don't mind playing as them, but yeah, that's not where the fun of that game lies. And it's kind of annoying to be like, yeah, this is going really well to get crossbowed in the face.
Yeah, that's the thing I hate about the archers. It's just like you can be having a really good like melee fight, and then someone just crossbows in your face, and it's like, just great. But yeah, there's that, and there's another class as well. I can't remember what that one is.
I mean, there's the knight, which is just like
it's probably like a similar swordsman,
even more swordsy. Yeah.
But yeah, there's 4 different classes, and then you got like 4 subclasses within each class as well, with different weapons and different abilities and stuff like that.
I didn't realize what was going on with that at first, because you sort of have to rank up in the classes to gain access to use the other weapon types.
Yes.
I didn't realize. It just looked like because you get that big list if you get the customization menu, and it's like, I'll just use this for a bit, and it's like, why am I not using that? Oh, right. There's a menu during the game where you have to change what weapon type you're using, and then it will use that.
Yeah,
but there's a lot of weapons.
There's a lot of different weapons, a lot of different sort of setups you can have for each class. But yeah, it's just the game types as well are pretty good. It's the way I described it to Rob initially was a bit like the Battlefield Rush. Was it Rush mode?
Yeah, a little bit. Or it's an objective map, effectively.
Yeah, so you move through the different sections to try and finish the map, basically. And one team's defending, one team's attacking. And as you can imagine, it's just pure madness when there's 32 people on each team just going at each other, trying to complete these objectives.
I think my most hated objective so far is like the ones where you have to try and burn something. You pick up a torch and then go to the place and burn a thing, and it's like, well, how do I get this to actually, like? Normally they're quite a long way apart, so like you
can throw them at them as well.
Sure,
So.
that does help, but it's still pretty tricky.
The trickiest one is get the gold one, because you have to literally just carry like a box of gold from one end to the other without getting killed. That's quite difficult. But yeah, it's just pure madness. You can do. There's lots of crazy things within that as well, not just the actual fighting, but you've got like catapults you can use. There's massive ballistas that you can control.
I love how the bodies fly when catapults kill people.
Yeah, it's great.
They don't just die. They go absolutely fly.
Yeah, everything's got like proper ragdoll as well, so the deaths are just hilarious. You also have like when you chop someone's head off, you can pick up their head and throw it at people if you want.
Oh, can you? Oh, I should have done that.
Yeah, you can pick up limbs and do the same thing. There's wells with like fish that you can get and throw at people and kill people with that. This is barrels you can pick up and throw at people. And
I've tried that.
Stones, and it's just madness. It's just hilarious. Like, it's just so satisfying when you throw something at someone like a fish and they just die.
One of the most satisfying multiplayer throws ever, because it's
genius.
It's got, if the one thing the game gets 100% right regarding all this is the weight behind it, right? Like when you throw something, it's like it's there's quite a wind up, and then when it goes, it's like doosh. Like for something like throwing your main weapon does a smeg ton of damage if you try and do that, and it's
yeah.
But
I I think the whole game just works really well with like the sound design is just so good.
Oh my god, yeah. And they lean into the comedy aspects so hard on that as well.
Yes.
Which is
pure comedy.
And they get it right.
And stuff people do. And you have like, I forget how many options there are, but there's like at least 16 different options per voice type that you choose.
Oh yeah. There's loads of quick chat, isn't there? That you can, or not really, loads of quick chat to say different stuff. Like goading is always funny because it means it throws in some terrible insult. Yeah,
there's taunts, there's like sorry and stuff like that, and they all have about 10 different voice lines each as well, so
some of them pretty elaborate.
Yeah, it's just pure carnage because everyone can do this and you can hear everyone doing this. So there's like 64 people all shouting stuff.
The thing. You can hear everyone. And there comes to points like in some matches where everyone's going, this is shite.
Yeah.
Or like
I've soiled myself and nobody cares.
And some people are getting like properly damaged, and like your characters are all going, "Oh, bugger it all!" It's like, where's the arm?
I needed that.
It's so ridiculous.
It's just pure carnage. It's not like, I wouldn't say it's like a perfect game. No way at all. Like there's a lot of like jankiness with it.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
The servers aren't perfect. You do get lag and stuff sometimes, and like weird hits sometimes that don't seem to make a lot of sense. But with this kind of game, you don't really mind because it's just pure stupidity anyway. I'm
not playing, and I don't think you should be playing it to get good at it. Like it's a game that seems impossible to like. Okay, I say impossible. There are players that you come across every now and then that are clearly good at it and are taking on more, multiple players at once and winning and doing it almost every time you see them. And it's like, okay, so there is definitely a knack to the combat system, but and that's a pretty high ask most of the time.
Yeah, definitely. It is a tough game to be good at because of how much stuff is just going on around you. Like to get into a fight and not have someone else interject and just that's part of the problem with it is you can't really have a fight like that. So you don't really need to be good because you never really get the chance to.
I mean, that's
have that kind of fight.
I mean, it is, but in a weird way, like as I say, the madness when you do get moments like that, and I have had the odd fight where it has just been me on one other guy or a couple of dudes, and it's just
super satisfying.
Yeah, it really is. It's like it works under those circumstances, and it's like it makes those. I think the madness makes those moments stand out.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so it can be mad most of the time, but then when you do get into a sort of like showdown-y style moment with someone, and you're like you're like distancing each other fighting game style until someone goes in and stuff like that, and then it's like it makes those moments really like, I was about to say poignant, but I know how we feel about that word.
Yeah, it's just really good. It's really satisfying to play, is how I'd put it. Like it's not. As I say, it's not the best game in the world. It's super janky. It's got a lot of things they could work on with it, but as it is, it's just great fun, and that's what I find important. Really, if I want a game, I want it to be fun, and this is that in buckets.
There needs to be more games that just focus on that.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of them try to be like super serious and focus on the story side of things, which is fine in itself, but a lot of the time they miss the fun part of it. They go for a complicated mechanics or mechanics that are just not that great to play, and then you get a game like Chivalry where it's just mental fun, And that's what I enjoy about it.
They've put the effort into the mechanics as well.
It has the great mechanics and it's fun, which is just brilliant.
Perfect combo.
Yeah, I love it. I think I've put a lot of hours into it. One thing I will say is it hasn't got a lot of content. Like there isn't a lot in it at the moment. Like there's only like a handful of different like maps and stuff. There's like 3 or 4 different deathmatch maps and about 4 different scenarios, I think, like objective scenarios.
You can rattle through them pretty quickly.
So you do repeat the stuff a lot. Like there's not many missions or whatever, but
Torn Banner have at least promised to at least double the content of the game with free updates.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of free updates with new stuff, and the other thing is I'd say the customization isn't great either. I mean,
but in a weird way, who cares about that? You can't really see it. Like, you can occasionally see one of the like I don't know, more senior characters will probably have shinier armor, or might be wearing that fancy
feathers or whatever.
Yeah, or fancy flaily chainmail that hangs down, or like the Knights Who Say Nis style helmet,
Yeah.
that Templar style, I guess. It's like,
Yeah.
you could, they're there.
It's not important, but I just feel like it could do a bit of a because it's really really hard to get enough gold to buy a lot of the stuff as well.
Well, I mean,
Like a lot of the
they're tempting
a
you
lot of
into
the end game stuff
microtransactions.
costs a hell of a lot. Yeah, which is kind of annoying because you have to pay for the game, right? And you can't even access half the stuff because it costs so much gold.
Yeah, a little tricky.
But that's the same with a lot of these games nowadays, though.
I mean, it is a rarity to have a paid for game have quite such a, I don't know, 2013 microtransactions system. Really, that's what it harks back to. It's like it's a game from an almost disappearing era.
Yeah, I mean, you can get pretty much anything you want if you just play enough, right? You just have to play a lot to get some of the end stuff, but a lot of the early stuff is cheap. Yeah, exactly. It's not random. You can choose what you want. You can choose where your gold coins go or whatever. So it's not like you're wasting your time really, because you can get what you want.
If you want something,
it's just and I just find it kind of weird that they've done it that way. I wish they'd gone down like the COD route, where you unlock stuff by achieving stuff.
I see. Yeah, you rank into it or challenge your way into it, or
the challenge cards or whatever, like they have or they used to have in Call of Duty. Like the last one didn't really have much of that. But
bread your way into it.
Yeah, so like kill 5 people with fish or whatever unlocks you a piece of armor or something. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. I prefer stuff like that because it gives you reasons to play stupidly as well.
Yeah. A heraldry pattern with a fish on it. I'd have that.
Yeah,
I totally have that.
Like, and then when you see someone who's got that, right, they managed to kill people with
well done,
18 pieces of bread or whatever, or fish. You know what I mean? It would be cool if they did it that way. I feel like that would have been
praise be the baker
better way of doing it.
Or like, even better if you could unlock like a voice account that just talks about baking the entire time.
Yeah, different character types or whatever for doing stupid things or something. I feel like that would have been a better way to go because you actually feel like you're achieving something for doing silly things.
Yeah, absolutely, especially in a game like that.
I feel like that's another thing games are doing a lot now is taking that stuff away and, as you say, adding it into a coin system or something.
Yeah. I mean, that
beats the fun out of it all, really.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's probably the only two things I would say that are down on it is that the content isn't huge right now. There's not many levels and stuff to play. So you will repeat stuff a lot. And also that's just the way the customization stuff works. But as you say, none of that really matters, the customization stuff anyway. So and they will be adding more stuff for free.
Yeah.
So that's always good. But yeah, it's just pure madness. I highly, highly recommend giving it a go because it's not hugely expensive either.
No, it's not a full price title, is it? So
it's like I think 25 quid. I think is the normal price for it, something like that.
Which is pretty.
It's not expensive.
Decent. That's the right price point. No Nintendo tax here.
Yeah, it's a really good price point. It is multiplayer only, so you have to bear that in mind, I guess.
Might have a limited lifespan, depending. We'll see. But it is fully cross-play already, isn't it? Like they launched.
It's cross-play, but you can't cross-party or anything yet. But they are adding that as well.
Right.
So you will be able to like party up with people on PC and PS4 and whatever as well, in Xbox, etc.
Yeah, because we've been playing the Series X version.
Yes,
I don't know.
It runs extremely well as well.
I don't know if that game would work on keyboard and mouse because surely the weight of it is lost if you try playing it on a mouse.
I think it's easier because you can drag quick, like super quick, and it gives you a bit of an advantage. But
that's what I mean. It's a huge advantage in that game.
Yeah, which is another reason why I think we probably lose a lot of fights as well because we're playing with a lot of PC people. Yeah, crossplay. But
I wonder if they should ever like COD introduced like controller-based crossplay where you can be like, don't play against keyboard and mouse people, please.
Yeah, I mean you can turn off crossplay, but then you're
yeah. That's not. I don't want to do that.
Not the same thing.
But yeah, you want input type limitations.
So yeah, I imagine there is quite an advantage playing on PC.
Hugely.
But I don't think it really overly matters that much because the individual fights don't really make the match. You know what I mean? It doesn't make the result of the match based on like a couple of people having an advantage on PC or whatever.
Yeah, I guess
because you can win. You can win by.
Stacked.
Yeah, you can just win by just being better at doing the objectives, right? because a lot of people just ignore the objective as well. So if you're just clever about it,
Yeah.
you can win that way. So I don't think it makes a huge difference really.
Yeah.
But it is something to consider as well.
What a nice surprise that thing is.
Oh, it's great. I love it. Yeah, because
I
I
say
quite like the
surprise.
first one as well.
It's got a 2 in the name, but
I did quite enjoy the first one as well on PC, but that was obviously way jankier because it was. I think it was like based on the Half-Life engine or something, maybe.
Or was it like a mod?
Yeah, it was like a mod basically, kind of thing, but it was a standalone mod, I guess, based on an engine of something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was that kind of thing, and that was still pretty good. But this is definitely way better than that one in every way. But yeah, I'm glad it exists.
Yeah,
because we need games like that. I don't think there's enough like just fun multiplayer games anymore.
Which is a slightly odd. Well, not in that vein of multiplayer. I would like not there aren't many that focus on that level of comedy, like in mass. I mean, Fall Guys comes to mind, but I didn't really get into that.
No, and it's a very different kind of game as well.
Yeah, it feels that same sort of niche in a weird way, or I don't know, like the onslaught of couch multiplayer games we now have.
Yeah,
thanks to Overcooked.
Yeah, like party games, I guess you'd call them.
There's a lot of those too.
Yeah,
or Among Us. Have you played Among Us yet?
No, that does not interest me at all.
Among Us is fantastic if you play it the right way.
I can imagine if you have enough friends to do it with, it'll be fine. But even then, I'm not overly interested in that because it's just like that. Those old not board games, but
I know what you mean.
I guess it was board games.
It's a social
that kind of thing's
game.
Been around a while. Yeah.
And but it is great. Like I love the way we play it, or like I've played it with my Cambridge crew, is like you need to mod it to have this. I forget what it's called now, but it's like a voice mode on it. So so everyone's on the chat channel through this voice thing rather than talking to each other this way, because obviously this would ruin it if everyone was on a Discord or something. And then so you go into this like game aware chat channel, and it adds proximity voice, so you can only hear people that are near you, and if you're dead, you can't speak. Like you can't.
Yeah,
you're immediately removed from the channel. But you can haunt. The best thing about that is like as a dead person, you can haunt the killer, or
right.
like so if your ghost in Among Us is near them and you're speaking, they get a distant echoey version of you going woo. It's
pretty funny.
It's a great way to play that game. But yeah, you're right. You need the right crew, and you need a reasonable number of you to make that work.
Sure.
I mean, we had fun with 4 and 5, but no, it really came into its own when we had 7 and 8 and started to get player counts up that high. Then it was fantastic.
Does that have crossplay? Because I know it's on mobile and stuff as well. Can you mix mobile and
I think it's
desktop,
100% crossplay. Yeah, because it's all just room codes. There's no actual friends adding and stuff like that. I think that is 100% crossplay.
That's good then. Yeah, that makes it easier to get people together, I guess, because you could just have people round. They don't even have the game and just download it, I guess, and off you go.
Absolutely. I mean, I have to pay for it. It's not free.
Well, yeah, but it's not expensive, is it?
No,
it's like a few quid or something, isn't it?
It's like £4 or something.
Yeah, it's really cheap.
Bargain. What else you got? Is that you done?
I've played some other stuff. I don't really think we'll go into them too much, but obviously Valorant I've been playing again recently. The new season came out.
New character.
KO or Kyo, not really sure.
I think it's KO, like the
KO.
Like KO.
I guess, yeah, that makes sense. The character seems really strong with its has flashbangs basically, and a grenade that means you can't use your abilities, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
And then he has his ult, which sends out massive like blasts of the same thing that suppresses everyone within that radius, and then also he can be revived if he gets killed, which is kind of big.
Oh, we can sort of self-revive?
No, someone has to revive him. So if he's ulting and he gets killed, you can revive him.
I see. So he's like he has a down but not out kind of thing.
Yes.
Interesting.
And the thing about that is his HP when he's down is like 700 or something. So when he's down, he's really hard to kill. So yeah, that makes for an interesting like dynamic of whether you actually go to try and kill him or leave him to be downed and wait for people to try and revive him and pick those off instead or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he's a really good character. I think he's going to really fit in nicely. Like some of the characters I felt like just have like stupid abilities that don't really.
I haven't seen many
I
people
don't really feel
using,
fair, but
yeah, I was about to say, I haven't seen anyone using Astra really since long after launch.
no. I think Astra's only good if you're playing as a team. Like,
Right, yeah.
I think it only works if you're in a 5-man group or something because you need to communicate really heavily with that character to get the most out of it.
Yeah, because she can do stuff anywhere on the map. Like, you need someone else to tell you to do it.
Yeah, you need people to tell you to do it. You need to be able to communicate that that's what you're going to do so they can play off of it. Because one of her abilities is it creates like a wormhole, not a wormhole, a whirlpool that sucks people in.
Oh
and,
yeah, that's
like locks them to that point. So you need communication with that to say, like, I'm activating this. You might want to peek it.
Yeah,
yeah, stuff like that. So that character is really difficult for most people to use, I imagine, because most people play like in groups of 2 or
yeah, she's
or whatever,
or solo, you know,
or solo. Yeah, and it's just
majority of
impossible.
players.
But yeah, I feel like the new characters are a really good addition because I've never been a fan of characters like Raze because of their super cheap ults where it's just like a free kill basically.
Almost, but yeah.
Obviously you have to hit with it, but it's still pretty much like a free kill, right?
Yeah,
Just fire and kill someone with it, which I feel like kind of cheap.
yeah. It's kind of annoying when you're in like a sort of clutch scenario and she's like, you just hear the ult go off and you're like, oh no.
Yeah. It's kind of difficult thing because like Breach is one. Is it Breach or the other guy, Brim's ult with his like area effect?
Yeah,
laser beam thing is kind of like that as well. But
yeah, because he can just like lock off the defuse if he hears you doing it. You just go blah.
Yeah, I think that's the worst thing for Valorant for me is how many abilities there is that stop you defusing and stop you being able to defuse in situations like that.
Like Killjoy's Nano Swarm. And
yeah, exactly.
That's kind of I kind of have to agree with that one. It's like the Nano Swarm's cool, but like
at
that
least you can kill
it
though. Like if you see it on the bomb, you can shoot them off.
Sure,
you can do that at least, which you can't with most of the other people's stuff.
Mm.
So at least you have the option of dealing with it, but most of the time you don't know it's there anyway because it's really hard to see. But yeah, other than that, I feel like it's still a fun game. I feel like the new character is gonna be a great addition. I feel that'll be fun to play with and play against as well. I think that's an important thing. They've got to be fun to play against, not just play with.
So I mean, I feel like we've been losing almost every game we've been playing recently, but like
definitely.
But I'm enjoying it still. That's the thing.
Yeah,
I'm not getting mad at it. It's like it's a decent thing.
I think the new map is pretty good as well that they added.
Yeah, Breeze
recently.
is decent.
So yeah, I think it's going places. It's doing good. I'm liking it still a lot.
Doing good. Keep it up.
Yeah, I still think Counter-Strike is the better game overall, but I think I like playing Valorant more. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm with you. Counter-Strike feels like it's had way longer to get it balanced the way it is, and like it's a finely tuned thing. But I think I like Valorant more. Like
I can't really put my finger on why. I just like playing it more. But yeah, good fun. Zach needs to get it.
Still does. Still won't.
It'll run on his machine as well. That's the great
That's
thing.
the thing, yeah. You just have to. Well, actually, does Vanguard run on 7?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it does.
Okay, then. That is the one big black mark, I guess, against like Valorant is the requirement on Vanguard, which doesn't. Honestly, I don't think it helps.
Probably not, but if you don't want to use it, you can just turn it off when you're not playing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zach, you should get it so we can have 4 of us all playing together. That'd be great.
Damn right we should.
You'd be right at home with Sova, I reckon.
There's just a grimace on his face right there.
Is there?
It's not a grimace.
I want to know. I want to know what is it about Valorant you don't want to play, Zach? What about it is putting you off playing it? I think that's an interesting question.
I think it's an impossible to answer question.
Why is that?
Because it's as much as why anyone doesn't want to play any game. Like, why didn't you like playing Rocket League after a certain point? Is there actually a reason for that?
Yeah, there is. I just didn't enjoy it. That was the reason.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, but you haven't even played it.
Yeah, but it's, you know,
Free!
didn't get back into Counter-Strike either, did I? So it's just like,
I don't
that's
remember
not
you
the
playing
thing that I
that,
wanted
though.
to play.
I know, I used to play it more than I did back in the day.
I mean, I played.
Well, yeah,
I
years and
probably
years and years
played
ago.
Counter-Strike first out of everyone.
Yeah, probably.
But this isn't Counter-Strike.
I mean, it sort of is.
And also,
So I just feel like it'd be your kind of game though if you played it.
I feel like
I
at
get that
the,
impression.
at the time and continuing this time, I feel like I've just not got into competitive shooters any longer. I don't like.
Yeah, that's fair.
Not since TF. Like, because I've like, all of us thought Overwatch would be your bag as well.
Yeah.
And Overwatch is great.
Definitely more so, yeah. I don't know. I kind of went off at Overwatch as well, though.
I don't think I ever went
for
off.
me in the end.
I don't think I ever went off it. I just sort of stopped playing it. Like that's different, right? It's not like I have any ill will against it. I just fell into other games.
It just didn't really do it for me. I don't think it didn't really play as I thought it would. I found it kind of annoying. I found it kind of too bullet spongy as well. Like because that's kind of the point of it. Though.
Yeah,
but
it is a lot.
I didn't really enjoy that much because you can do like a ton of damage or whatever, and you'll never kill anyone because they're either being healed constantly or your team isn't focusing on the same. Like you're supposed to focus kill people or whatever, and people just don't. It's not one of those games. I think you have to play with people.
I mean, it's
more so than something like Valorant, because Valorant is a lot about individual skill.
And maybe because Overwatch has smaller team sizes, that becomes more of a thing. Like unlike TF, where we used to play it, we used to be like 20 odd people per side.
Yeah.
Or quite a large number of people per side, wasn't it?
Makes less difference that way, doesn't it, when there's more people on a team? About playing together.
Yeah, maybe that's part of the problem as well of why I wasn't so up on those kind of games. Because it's like, obviously, I liked Battlefield back in the day.
Sure.
And then Team Fortress, but maybe like when maybe as it goes down in number of players, it gets less appealing to me somehow. Which is why Overwatch would have been the one that was better, because that was one of the ones with a bigger team at the time.
I mean, yeah, 6 on
well,
6.
It's only one person more than Valorant, but
it's only one person more than most.
Yeah.
Well, and even that's going away now, isn't it? They're going back to 5v5.
Yeah. For Overwatch 2.
It's a weirdly late in the game decision that they made there to suddenly decide to chase that.
I'm not really sure what the decision was based on, really, because everyone liked the 6v6.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that at all.
Maybe it's some weird esports thing where it's like we can't sustain 6-person esports teams.
Oh, God.
Maybe.
That would suck. What's the normal Counter-Strike team size these days?
5, isn't it?
5. Yeah, okay, maybe that's it. Maybe it's just consistency, because it's 5 in Siege as well, and it's
5 in League of Legends.
Yeah.
5 in everything, isn't it, pretty much?
5. I say,
Although,
they should have, like, proper 11-person-aside FIFA games.
they should, that'd be great.
Don't they, though?
I mean, I'm sure there's a subset of people who are doing that, because you can.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you could. Anyway, I thought they had
Yeah,
that
I'm pretty sure you can.
Yeah.
Or you used to be able to. I don't know if you still can.
Yeah. Lol. Libero Grande.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking you need to turn that into a more competitive game by making it so like you only play one player, but you need to have some other way to influence the rest of the team.
Right, yeah.
Like skills or something.
It needs to be played from like an awkward camera angle, right? Like a third-person camera angle rather than the FIFA style
Yeah.
view.
Yeah, that'd be pretty funny.
So
yeah.
it's all about like your awareness is limited as well. That'd be great.
Do you remember like the old 90s football games used to do that for free kicks and stuff, didn't they?
Oh, yeah,
Put it in
yeah.
Third person.
But that's what we were talking about. Are you aware of Libero Grande? Like
is that one of the old like?
it's an old PlayStation 1 game where you control one of the players. Just
okay.
one. And it's done from like a third-person perspective.
That's cool.
It's kind of madness.
So you can do that on FIFA as well, where you control only one player, but it doesn't do it in third person, obviously.
No. But that's what I mean. It's like that's what they
That'd
should
be
do.
great. Yeah, that would be great.
I'd like to see
Bring that back.
I'd like to see them try. Do weird stuff.
Yes. Again, games are too the same nowadays.
Yeah, they should do weird stuff.
Why the heck not, right? Because FIFA adds all sorts of random things that no one ever plays. So why not just add
Yeah, give it a go.
add another crazy mode? Yeah,
This is the
it's not
2022
like the
edition.
engine couldn't do it because it's already rendering it all in 3D.
Right. Oh, it absolutely could.
Although they'd have to make
That'd be
skyboxes, I guess.
I guess they have them
Yeah,
already. They might have to change the render mode though, because there's like very limited parameters of them looking down on a football pitch, right? And those angles. It's only when it like pans up for like the cinematics or the cutaways to refs where maybe they have two different render modes to deal with that, or two different LODs, or so it might be a little bit different for the engine to handle. Maybe. Or I'm making all of that up.
But maybe EA don't care.
EA definitely don't care.
As a fact.
I'm going to wrap up the podcast there.
Yeah,
I mean,
we probably should.
I could. I mean, we're well over time, and I could talk about stuff I've played. But hey, I've been playing Horizon Zero Dawn. It's exactly what you expect it to be.
Okay.
I mean, I'll go into more detail next time.
Yeah.
Because I'll still be playing it because it's big.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a podcast. Thank you for listening all this way, if indeed you still are. There's more Freelancer going up on the website.
Oh, no. The YouTube.
Well, the YouTube, yeah, I mean,
I mean, technically, it goes up on the website
Yeah.
in the form of a post.
yeah.
Not exactly the same thing.
I could say there's more Freelancer going up on my twits as well.
Not your. Oh, do you post it on your Twitter?
I reshare.
Okay.
I do what every good socialite should do. Social media light. Is that what the socialite's not the right word, is it?
No, not quite. But yes, we've continued with Freelancer because apparently Deus Ex is not going to happen for a while.
Dan can't be asked to set up his PC.
I wasn't going
After
to call
moving.
that out specifically, but
Yes,
yes.
but that's exactly the reason. I mean, that game's very brown, so it's nice to get away from the brown a little bit. And then we'll play
Apart from when
apart
we're
from the
in-
fact we're in space brown.
Yep.
So
Apart from when we're in the UK of space where it's all brown.
it's all brown.
Well, at least one of the systems.
Freelancer.
We might get through Freelancer before we do more Deus Ex.
Oh, 100%. It's totally going to happen. We might never see Deus Ex again. Don't get invested. Watch the Freelancer videos. Don't watch the Deus Ex ones. We'll come back to those. We'll tell you when it's good. Alrighty. Thank you, everybody. And goodbye.